And first, we've got public input period. Is there anybody other than Thought Exchange who wants to speak to us? No? Okay, then we're going to go forward with adopting our agenda. This is the amended agenda that has our thought stream presentation, and I'd also like to add the mountain market request to that agenda. So with that addition, can I have someone move and second?
Move as amended.
Okay. Great. All in favor? Good. Okay, let's jump right in with Thought Exchange. Will you guys introduce yourself to everybody? Do you know everybody?
And how much time do you have?
15 minutes.
15. Okay.
I'm Dave McLeod. I only know a few people here. President of Thought Exchange, new resident, been here for about a year and a half.
Okay, the labor column.
John Green.
There we go.
Yeah,
That's the right wing there, that's the left wing.
Hold on, you're cutting into the 15 minutes.
You're the right wing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at Jeff, he's left wing, right wing.
Okay. Don't squander your 15
All right.
minutes, guys.
Okay, so we're going to try to fit this into an hour and a half. I thought I'd just give you a bit of context for those of you that don't know what we do. If I give means of examples, we do constituent engagement work, most in parallel to what we do around municipalities. Would be the work that we do in the United States for school boards, where they have massive elections and they have to get public input to inform things like budgetary decisions. Right now in Spokane, they're trying to raise about $500 million from their constituency in order to support a broad range of public projects, and those projects may affect the tax rate. They may not affect the tax rate, and they don't. If people don't support the projects, well, they don't support the vote, and if they don't support the vote, the projects don't happen, and all such things happen. You can see the parallel is pretty close here, though. People are not going to vote directly against what we don't like what you did, but they might move out of town, or you might actually feel the problem of not having their buy-in over a couple of years. So, though what we do is quite close to what we're doing, proposing to do with you, we don't actually work largely in the municipal space right now, so we're really interested in learning in our own hometown about how we can affect our own neighbors and things like that. So that's our interest in this, is to try to, seems like a problem that is challenging for everybody to have, this shortfall in dealing with it. And so we want to be able to use our skill set on that. That's from the broadest range in our companies. Going down one level, we have software and services, and most important to understand is that what we want to do, we want to go to the community, we want to share some ideas with them as some potential listen. As leaders of the community, we want to hear from you, we want to hear your interests. We don't want the community to tell you what to do. We want to ask a couple of interest-based questions. We're all about interest-based consultation, collaborative negotiation, where we want to say, hey, what are your concerns about a particular issue? What are the positive things about a particular issue, and why is that important to you? And those thoughts, that step one, we ask everybody to input. They can input via email. It's really simple. Demographically, it's fairly easy to participate. And we have some strategies for how we get more people to participate. We moderate those comments for about a week to make sure that people haven't said anything egregious, anything hurtful. We make sure that we take them on. Our staff actually reads every single comment. And then those thoughts actually get shared back to the community. And that everyone has a chance to go, well, here's the concerns that I'm hearing about cutting our services as it's relating to our roads. There's a lot of people talking about that. I hadn't thought of that myself when I thought about some concerns. I was really focused on things that were arts and culture related. I hadn't really thought about the concerns as it relating to roads and maintenance. So you actually get a chance, they get a subset, so they actually get to see some thoughts and go, oof, actually, everyone thinks that everyone agrees with them until they see a subset of other people's thoughts, and they have to be forced into the idea that actually other people have other interests that may be as strong as theirs, and they actually put stars on those interests and go, that's interesting, and those rise to the top. So the most important thing, if you take away one thing about our process, it doesn't actually matter how many times, everyone says shoveling the sidewalks is the most important thing in this community. If everyone says that, but then after they get a chance to review and look at the thoughts of other people, if they put their stars on things that are maybe arts and culture related, or we don't know, if just a few interesting ideas come and everyone puts their stars on those ideas, the most popular idea doesn't necessarily rise to the top. You can actually see that there's lots of popular ideas, but then there's the ideas that really pique people's interest. That's 3 minutes. Any questions? Thank you. No. Moving on. So what we propose to do with you is really similar to what we're doing right now with these bond scenarios. Is that the public really does not want to hear that you have a plan and you want feedback on the plan. The perception in the public world is, listen, you're asking, it's just there's no reason for it. You're doing it to try to earn my trust, but you're going to do whatever the heck you want anyways. We unfortunately, 4 years ago, have a bit of experience with that. The board was genuine in their knowledge. They said, here's a plan, we really want your feedback on our plan, and they were open to it. And the public did not believe them that they were open to the plan. The criticism was, you're putting forth this plan, you're married to it, it's going to go down. And so what we learned through that is that coming up with a few different scenarios and saying, listen, there's a few ways we can tackle this problem, and we're actually not sure. We know we need to address a problem. We know we need to address it either a little bit or a lot. We know we need to either cut these things or these things. We're not exactly sure what we're going to do. We'd like your feedback on the concerns. We're not going to say, prioritize this list of things, we'll do what you said. But in this scenario, we're going to focus a little bit on this, and in this scenario, we're going to focus a little bit on this. Give us your positives, give us your concerns. We're going to take all that feedback. We're not going to do this scenario or this scenario. We're going to do something completely different. We're going to come up with scenario C. It's going to try to listen to the needs of the community and say, listen, we heard some feedback on this, we heard the feedback on this, we've gathered it together, and this is how we're going to deal with this problem, and we're going to open to your feedback in the coming years. So that's the idea. So right now you can imagine in Spokane they have these, a football stadium versus if they're going to fund replacing portables, and there's a lot of different people with different points of view from different sides of the aisle, as it were, that have different opinions about those issues. And it really helps to inform, well, why is that important to you? And when they prioritize elementary school funding over sports facilities, they have a lot of people say, listen, this is a priority of our community. And even if I wanted to do that football stadium, I can't. But I hear you on the football stadium, so we're not going to do the football stadium, but we are going to do a bit of a cafeteria around the football stadium, because we know that's important, but we're not going to put $30 million into it. We're going to put $800,000 into it. So you've heard your community. You didn't necessarily listen to exactly what they said, but you made a decision based on that. So I'll pass it over to Jim to actually describe the scenarios that we've put up. But the most important thing I want you to be listening for is we don't want to do anything to inflame the community. The purpose here is not to say, one of our scenarios is we're going to shut everything down, fire everybody on staff, shut down the arena and the pool, and have all of our services go to trail. The other one is going to be life goes on as we know it, and our facilities just slowly fall apart. We're trying to get something that each scenario is like, yeah, I could live with that as a council, as a leader. Yeah, I could live with it. It hurts a little bit, but I could live with that. On the other side, yeah, I guess I could live with that. That's a big change, but yeah, if we did go that way, you have to believe that as a group you could stand beside both of them. If anything in here is egregious, if someone says, you wouldn't actually do that, would you? No, I wouldn't actually do that. Why in the hell did you ask us that then? It just made me mad for no good reason. So as Jim's going through the scenarios, just listen for the things that says, if you can't actually live with that, make sure both those scenarios, remember you're not going to be married to either side at the end. You don't even have to do the thing people are most concerned about, but you want to be able to understand what they want. I'll pass it to Jim for.
So we'll give a chance for questions and comments. I think the key thing, we were sent our piece that is the beginning of what we would send out. In the thought exchange process, there's essentially, they get an email, they click a link, they come and they go through 2 pages of reading. The second page of reading is the background. It would have this background piece that we sent you, and it would have that scenario summary that is there. And that's what would be immediately available to them. We would also make more attachments that would have far more detail. And we're still working on those attachments. We don't have those ready yet. What we're looking for today is essentially a green light from you as a group to proceed. We're on a ridiculously short timeline here because of how tight this budget is. So we can't have a group this big, wordsmithing every word. So you'll need to trust Kathy and Andrew, because we are working closely with them, to agree, get into the details of the wording and so on. The numbers here, the percents, are still subject to change. I'm still getting more numbers from Lois and getting deeper and deeper into understanding this. So don't take those as estimates. Don't get stuck on exactly that number. I will keep addressing these. So we essentially have 2 scenarios. In one of them, so we have a deficit of $1.2 million. In one of them, we address 30% of that deficit, and the rest of it is essentially unfunded capital. Or in another scenario, we address 70% of that deficit. And we address that in a mix of 2 ways, tax increases and cost reductions. And these numbers are compared to, I used a baseline of 2015 with a 2% tax increase already, and I'll fix that and baseline everything back to 2014 so it's clearer for people. So there's essentially those 2 scenarios, and the scenario table on page 2 will be that summary. It will show where it says TBD in scenario A and scenario B, it will have dollar values. And that's essentially how much they're examples, because you can take that money out of the cost reductions any way you want. And on the right-hand side, we'll have examples of those kinds of implications. So for arena curling and outside rinks, an example would be we won't have outside rinks anymore. And we'll go look and we'll match the numbers so that the number we need to save is actually saved by that example. So that's the plan here. We're looking for, again, it's two scenarios. They have to be realistic. So I'm still working with Lois to understand this $1.2 million number and where the give and take in it, but it seems basically you need to fund this capital expenditure gap to some extent, and that mixed with raising taxes, that mixed with decreasing services. Those are your choices. And this presents two different ways of mixing those three things, and then it goes into more details on the cost reductions.
I just want to add one. Borrowing, because borrowing is also, I mean, for capital things, we could borrow.
We've left that out. We've left it out. We can try and put it in. One of the things about this is that I've learned my rule of this is essentially marketing. One way of thinking of what we are is we're a marketing company. We help our clients engage their customers to tell their story, our customer story, and to listen. Kind of interactive marketing. One of the things I know about marketing is it has to be dead simple. So we aim for, this isn't there yet, we aim for grade 3 reading level. Okay, so it's got to be really, really simple, not only because people have a grade 3 reading level, because you don't get their attention on this in a really clear way. You guys are all really close to this. It's really easy for you to be in the details of, oh, I don't like this word or whatever. It's not the nuanced right word. Again, you're getting a fraction of people's attention here. It's got to be dead simple. So that's why the background is kept quite simple. It could be yet more simple. There actually is an analyzer we run it through to tell us the reading level required. So, and we're still working on all that. So this is the concept. So we're looking for feedback on the concepts. In particular, what are you prepared to do? What's realistic?
And critically there, the thing that's, when I see there the tax increase could be this or this, if in your heart one of the options is 0 or one of the options is a lot more, you can imagine if everyone comes back to you and then you actually do nothing, and the public will learn, oh, when they engage us, deny everything and smash them down, because then they'll do nothing. So if 2% is actually your bottom floor, we know we're gonna do at least 2%, or it's 1%, or it's 0. Maybe one side is actually 0. We're gonna borrow. We're gonna find other ways. I just need that real number, because we cannot have that bottom one and you go, actually we decided not to. Same thing on the top end. You really don't want to. Actually, we're going to double that, because they'll say you lied to us. You said we're trying to make that range realistic. You have to work within reality here. We're not trying to manipulate the public, so we're trying to just get their feedback and really understand how sensitive are they to these things.
Well, I don't think we can say 0.
Right?
So your baseline right now is 2%.
Is 2%, yeah.
So that could be scenario A. Here's the baseline. And we can produce a table that shows 2014 baseline, 2015 scenario B. And then that gives people a flavor. Because even with the baseline, you're still, you know, and we'll still have to apportion $1.2 million deficit into you'll only be able to address part of it, and cut services will still be that other choice.
Right. Someone have some comments on this? Aaron.
I like the work you guys have done, and thank you for doing it. It's awesome. I don't think, speaking for myself, I'm happy not to jump in and wordsmith, because I've got better things to do. I'm happy to leave it to you and Andrew and Kathy to sort out. I wouldn't mind seeing the final version before it goes out, though. But I don't know, I have any comments on that. On the background, I know you're promising supporting documents. That's great. If you can put into grade 3 reading level the urgency of the financial crisis we're facing, because I don't think urgency is a word that jumps out at me when I read what you've got there. But I leave that to you again as the professional wordsmiths. As Kathy says, one of the other choices is debt and another is sale of assets. But as you say, you don't want to complicate the thing. I would recommend not putting either of those things in there. You might put some background somewhere that says, these are scenarios, this is hypothetical. Realistically, we have other options, but we're not going to plug all the variables in here. What you're doing is giving council some kind of a feeling for your priorities. Then council is going to go away and figure out how to do it. Yeah. It's not necessarily going to look exactly like this scenario. there may be debt, there may be sale of assets, but that's how I would recommend approaching that, but again, it's up to you guys to figure it out. And one more comment, I don't like the limitation, you can tell me what's realistic here, I don't like the limitation of the two scenarios. For me, if you've got a box that has all these columns in it, and it needs to add up somehow to fixing a deficit of 1.2 million, why don't you let them play? Why don't you say, look, here, plug in your figures. At the bottom, all the numbers are going to be red until you get the right figures. You can increase taxes by 20% if you want.
I got a real quick answer for that, is that what will happen if you did that, your public could go and say, the thing that we've all played around with it enough, and after we all played with it, we're closing down the arena and miners hall. And you're like, oh gosh, the political appetite for that, there's nothing. They've all played with it that way, we've got that as an answer, but we are not prepared to do that. We don't actually want to know what the public feels the exact financial, fiscal, we're not talking numbers here, we're talking interest. So if we're saying, I really feel, we want to hear their interest and concerns, not actually their solution. We're looking for them to say, I want to inform you guys to solve the problem, but we're not actually asking them to solve it by diving into the details as far as numbers, etc.
I'm not suggesting that you break these columns into sub-columns at such a level that anybody can say, I want to shut the miners off. They would say instead, I want to decrease recreation funding, right? You've got to cast at that level of detail already. And I do want to know if somebody wants the recreation budget to be zero. And I'm not promising, as you don't promise in here, that whatever hypothetical scenario they come up with is what we will actually do, but it gives me an indication. These guys don't think recreation is something we should be spending our money on.
I think they'll just
That's
tell you that.
exactly what I want. I want to know where their priorities are.
Yeah, go
Can
ahead.
you explain the rules of, are we?
Speak.
It says free, okay. So I think that, I have two answers, partly the one Dave said, partly another one is, it ought to be really simple. The thing you're asking, you could do the thing you're describing, maybe everybody in this room could do the thing you're describing, it's actually cognitively a pretty hard thing. We find, in general, getting people to put stars on thoughts is a very cognitively demanding thing. Just that. Now you're asking them to essentially do math. A lot of people...
No, they just hit a button and bump this one up.
So,
Yeah, but-
actually, I've got one more piece on that. The other thing that's most important is that everyone only really has about one or two ideas.
Right.
So when they come into this, they're going to look and they're going to think with their recreation hat on, they're going to look at this whole list, and they're going to go down and go, that's the one that drives me crazy. They're going to give 3 thoughts, mostly associated to the one thing they find most important, and then we rely on the fact that everybody's going to do that. They're going to be diverse enough. Everyone's going to have a different thing they pick on, but no one person actually tries to solve the whole problem. They pick the
Can I
one.
give another really important answer? Our software doesn't do what you described.
I don't.
So, it's an interesting idea, and we've thought of it already,
Yeah.
but it's not in the time frame we're talking about
Yeah,
here.
okay.
The software is not going to do what
That's
you
a
just
valid answer.
described.
I understand.
Yeah, they're good. I think the thing you can see us sitting up is because we really make sure we keep this in a collaborative negotiation space, which is we end up doing a lot of pushback on anything that would get us into a spot where we position the public versus the council. And we want to make sure any answer we get out of this is interest-based.
So I want to ask, so one more thing, because this may be of interest to everybody. On the debt piece, I think another reason to leave the debt out is it's not something you're, in selling an asset, I doubt that's something you can execute on in 2 months, which is about the time frame you have to set your budget for 2015. To me, that's this is all very short term for 2015 to try and get some input, because you guys have to set a budget. You could have a plan for 2015 you're going to sell an asset, but it's going to be very hard to bring that sale and the impact into your budget for 2015. So I think
it would be good information for us to know,
yeah,
right?
but I
because
really
we've
agree with
got-
Aaron's point, is leave it out, don't try and model it here, because you won't be able to explain it in any way that sounds...
Just as long as there's room for people, if that's somebody's idea, sell the miners hall, right? No one would say that, but if they did, right?
Yeah, I think that's right.
I agree with both of you, really. I recognize the need to get a realistic viewpoint from our public and our voters. And yet I know the detail that Aaron's ideally wanting as well. But I think that we've talked, as a council, we've talked about the idea of having committee inputs, outside committee inputs. And I see the information that you're providing us to not necessarily just filter through us, but also filter through this group we've talked about. You know, and so...
But maybe not for this year.
And maybe not.
Yeah.
But I just see that, you know, the type of information that Aaron's wishing,
Yeah.
you know, realistically, we're gonna be working with Lois and our staff.
Okay, we're just about out of time. Does anybody over on this side have any questions, comments?
I can't remember, is this the right wing or the left wing? I lost track now.
Your left.
My left. Okay, so,
If
Aaron.
nobody else is gonna jump in, I'll
Jump
fill
in,
the
jump
available
in.
space, yeah. So, just so I'm clear about this, what we're getting, they're presented with two scenarios. And they're not asked to choose between the scenarios or anything like that. These are offered to sort of give them a launching pad.
So
to
there's
give us
four
ideas.
questions. What do you like about scenario A? What are your concerns about scenario A? What do you like about scenario B? What are your concerns about scenario B? Anything else to add?
Okay,
Super simple.
maybe, yeah, super simple, yeah.
Super simple. That's what we've learned. We've asked way more complicated questions in the past, and it's a train wreck when we do.
Mhm.
It kills participation if people don't know how to answer a more complicated question, and it feels like you're now holding a vote. If you just ask for
Yeah, we're
concerns
not
and
holding a
positives
vote. Yeah.
without sounding like, what do you want to cut? You'd never want to ask, what do you want to cut? Because then you're committed yourself to the stop-start thing. Well, you better cut that because you asked me what to cut. Super basic, very high level, open-ended, interest-based questions. That's what we've learned to do. That's the best learning from collaborative negotiation, one-on-one, and we do collaborative negotiation at scale. It's the same thing you do if you're negotiating with somebody. It's like, what are your concerns about plot?
I gotta say, I'm a little bit pessimistic about the results I get from asking somebody what they like about scenario A, what they like about scenario B, because as you say, these are not things we're going to do. But you guys are far more expert at this than I am. I'll sit back and wait and be delighted if it works. Thank you.
Actually, the one piece we didn't mention that is, it might make you feel a bit better being a analytic kind of guy, is we do a lot of analysis on the stars. So we have a whole team that does analysis of the patterns of the stars and the insights we can learn from what gets starred by different people. And so you get in the schedule, there's quite a bit of time for us to do analysis and present results to you based on that analysis that lets us uncover interesting things. Dave just touched on that, but one of the things is people want to, get rid of the miners' hall, stupid example. And it's like, okay, well, we're not going to get rid of the miners' hall, but we can learn. People who want to get rid of the miners' hall also want to do something else. So you can appease the people who want to get rid of the miners' hall, even though you're not going to, by doing this other thing, because we can identify that. So there's a lot of analytic tricks we can pull, even though our data is really simple. And we've done these scenarios a lot, and we do them on very political fraught processes for $350 million bonds in the United States, and there's an election coming, and if the election goes the wrong way, the superintendent gets fired. People have a lot of skin in this game when we do this, and this
Jump
works.
in, a bond is an easier question, because it's usually one or two issues, right? Do you or do you not want a new football field, right?
No, they each have about 15, there's tax rate, there's classroom size, there's state match, there's bonds are
Okay.
extremely complex, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we can't get
It's great
too
questions,
too
though.
far.
We could-
Yeah, I know.
Great discussion.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
in an
good.
hour, we could typically we'll give you a presentation for an hour and then
Yeah.
take questions at the end, we try to address those
But
in
we're
our
just on such a
presentations, but
tight schedule
I
with
get it.
this, and
So I
really
think the thing
appreciate
that
you
we're
guys.
looking for is just
Yeah.
an agreement to proceed. We'll bring you back the final, but just that this concept,
Yeah.
that the process, working with Kathy and Andrew is.
Well, I think we can make a this is a committee of the whole meeting, so we can't actually pass motions, but we can make a recommendation to go forward, with this process. We can continue going forward as we are, and, that gets accepted at the next council meeting. Somebody will make that motion.
I'll make that motion.
So, okay, good.
I'll second.
Okay, good. And, all in favor? Anybody opposed? Okay, all right, that's great. Thank you guys
Thanks, everybody.
very, very much.
Thank you.
And I'm sure you and Lois will be speaking.
L-E-O-D. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Thanks so much. Lois, are you coming up on the screen right away? Still
killing part is heartbreaking.
Like a movie star seeing his red teeth taken out.
Yes, there was a lot of work left in cutting these photos for sure.
Whole other film though, maybe.
Maybe, that's experiment number 2.
Actually, I used some of the stuff from that, the Rossland News.
Right, yeah.
Thing, I just cut some of the stuff out of there and put it in.
Sure, fill me up.
I think if we used coffee or tea or something, more than water,
Brought a little tea one just in
The
case.
appetizers.
Gotta pace myself for the next, 7 hours?
An hour?
That might, hopefully that's an overestimate.
We should start this process immediately after we finish it, right? Start next year.
Oh, yeah.
What, don't even
Yeah.
wait, start it immediately after.
Yeah.
Because I'm loving this.
Can we just
I'm
do
sure you are,
routine
too.
year round
Yeah.
all the time?
Groundhog Day.
We've only got 3 years and 9 months left.
We're already set. Again,
Oh, come on. Okay, that laptop died of that, so, no. It's okay, we'll just switch
Why
to
get
this
to it in
one.
there, right?
Let's just get things moving.
The value of redundancy.
Mhm.
Maybe I should lend her my tablet.
Oh, that's pretty,
I
but
did.
that's not my
Oh,
presentation.
what was I here for? What was I here for?
The computer.
I just looked a lot
listening and not very
brighter.
wonderful. Open it up.
Yes, and we brought Andrew in by conference call, and we're talking about. The meetings are all blurry. Anyway, my comment is just that, remember I was asking for the artist work?
Blurring. Sorry, Casper, you're right. Gosh.
Right?
All right. We're back up and running.
Uh-oh.
No, we're all good. Okay, we can get going. She says.
No signal.
Want to discuss the mountain market?
The market, yeah, that's right, good call. So did everybody see the request from the farmer's market?
Yes.
Mhm.
Market. And you saw the cost of doing that. What was the?
There was a cost associated with
Well, there was
There,
revenue.
well, to rent the facility.
We were gonna charge them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cost to them.
The-
Yeah.
Okay, so the issue for the gallery was that the Mountain Market wants to hold a fundraiser after they do their regular market on the 31st. Blizzard approached them to do an all-family event with music. And the total cost of that at our nonprofit rate would be $97.45. And they're anticipating 50 to 100 people at $10 a head. So, you know, we have a policy that we don't give things away. We've already given 3 markets to the market. They wouldn't need more insurance because they've already got it for the event, you know, $100. Yeah, she's up. Let's just
Yeah, we'll get.
speak on this, if anybody wants to say anything about it. We have a recommendation about it.
I recommend that we accept the request, that we charge them the nonprofit rate.
Okay,
Second.
okay. Any further discussion?
Just on that, how did they make out on the cleanup and that after the first one? Did we incur costs? They did it themselves. Good.
Okay, so any further discussion on that? We have a recommendation that we will charge them the rate. All in favor?
That's no
Opposed?
problem.
Okay. Tracy, you got that? This day. Now, Lois, we're ready.
Okay. So tonight's topic for budget is community support and recreation. So, there we go. So the topics that we need to cover tonight is community support, and that's going to cover grants and operational support and recreation. Those are the areas that we're going to cover. So we've got quite a lot to cover tonight. So just as a quick reminder, just in terms of when we spoke the previous week in terms of the split, the community support is that 8% in the red that we're going to look at. And the recreation is the 4%, the 1%, and the 3 and the 5. So that makes up 8%. So tonight we're going to cover 16% of the expenditure, just to give some context. So, just for definition, to make sure everybody's clear, we have community grants, where people actually apply to us for actually cash, where we will actually physically write them a check, send it to them. And we've got operational support, where we will actually do, Public Works will actually do operational work for somebody, we incur the costs, and they get the benefit of it. So, two very distinct things to make sure we keep separate. Just to put that into context, in 2014, the grants was 277,000 and the operational support was 51,000.
Well,
Yep.
I'm going to bring up something I bring up practically every year, is that I find with the operational support, making this look like community contribution when it's things like the seniors hall, the tennis courts, the museum, and the library, which are city-owned facilities, doesn't make any sense to me. It never has. Those things, to me, should be in the public works budget. Those are our facilities, and we're not giving that money to groups. We're maintaining our own facilities. So I can see Golden City Days, Winter Carnival, Lions Campground. Well, no, not Lions Campground, right? Because that's the same thing. That's city-owned as well. So the events I can see there, but the other things I just have never understood why we don't treat them as public works like we do a ballpark or an arena.
I'm going to give you an answer that I always hate when somebody gives it to me. I'm just simply following how it's previously been done, but we can easily change that. If we want to remove them out of community support and put them into the public works, we can easily do that.
Mayor Moore, I think historically the reason that was done is just to bring to light that, let's say the Lions Campground wasn't there, then thered be nothing there and it wouldn't be costing us any money. So it's just...
No, it would be a line item, it would be in with parks, right?
Well, no, if there was never a Lions Campground and it was just raw land,
Yeah.
there would be no cost of maintaining that land.
You could say the same thing about
Yeah.
the arena.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that's
Yeah,
historically...
here's why it's a problem for me, because, you hear from everybody, people who want us to shut down the curling rink, to people who want us to stop giving money to those pesky community groups, people who want us to give way more to everybody. And when you look at those numbers, it adds up to, community support, big number. But when you look at those, I would, and I think I want to hear from council too, but I would like those moved into public works. But it's still line items, so we see what we're paying for. But I just don't think it's right for us to say this is community support to maintain our own buildings and facilities.
I had a similar feeling when I was reading it, especially when I was thinking library and museum, I was thinking it almost feels kind of like a conflict of interest for us to vote on funding to a group that we also own. I wasn't super strong on that, but that's I was getting that same feeling from you, wondering why those fell
I'm
there.
talking about the operational support part, just the part where we're going up and fixing the building and mowing the lawns and that kind of thing, not the part we give to the group to pay their wages and run their programs. Lloyd?
I viewed it the same way when I looked at it. I thought that the events, the Golden City Days and Winter Carnival, I could accept, but the other things I felt, those are city facilities. And yeah, you could say if the Lions Campground wasn't there, you could say if the seniors hall wasn't there, but I think they should be in public works, and just the other ones, Golden City Days, Winter Carnival, it's fine to leave them there.
Okay. John?
Yeah, otherwise, how would a privately owned facility like the Light Opera Hall? Why isn't that money being given to the Light Opera for maintaining their facility?
Well, we don't own that, right? These are
Right,
things we
so
do, yeah.
if we're giving money to city owned, maybe we should be giving
Yeah.
it to privately owned too.
Yeah. Anybody over here? Aaron?
I agree. I don't see any difference between maintaining the Lions Campground and maintaining Esling Park, or any of the parks around town, as far as categories go.
Okay, well, maybe we don't need to spend a lot of time on this. Do we need any sort of motion, or this is just an instruction and we'll also handle it? I love this council. I tried to make that argument for years and I always got shot down.
What was the reason?
I don't know, I don't remember. I don't recall it being. I think it was. Sorry, Lois.
No, I'm fine with that. I'm fine to do that. I have no
Okay.
problems to do that. I'll just change the format of the budget, and those line items will just come out of your community support group with the history as well, and that'll go into public works.
Excepting for the 2 events.
Except for the 2 events, yes, exactly.
Thanks, that's great.
Okay? So just to make sure we had a distinction there in terms of we actually write checks out to people and have operational support. So I've kind of suggested this before and I just kind of wanted to reiterate it. In terms of community support, in terms of grants, do we want to, historically how it's happened is everybody sends in an application, I would like this much, and what council has done is gone through each individual one and kind of reviewed them and said, yeah, we'll give this, no, we'll not give that, but no kind of real direction or aim, and it's just simply a case of we'll see what we come out with at the end. The risk with that is that the grants could increase quicker than the property tax rates do, but it gives maximum flexibility. Whereas I wanted to kind of propose to council in terms of, do we want to kind of change that approach and kind of review that and say, do we want to put an annual cap on that? Was your hand up then?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
go on.
I had the same idea as I was reading through, thinking about how we were going to approach this. And my personal goal as I went through trying to figure out what the allocation should be was, I want the final total to be less than anything I have on record for the last 6 years. In other words, I want a reduction in the total amount granted over anything since the 2009 budget. I got it down to 7% of budget figure. I think, maybe that's not the goal, but I think it would be worth, before we go through line by line, setting ourselves a goal like that, and then go through line by line and see if we can get to that goal.
I think that's a great idea. Anybody else comments?
I like it too.
What I'm hearing then, Aaron, you're saying, what I did, I looked at the 6 years, thanks for the extra 3 years on the spreadsheet, and my spreadsheets, and I thought, well, I thought they were most of the time high, and I was just aiming for around 7%.
Yeah.
And that means reduction. But I wasn't sure, I thought it was a good idea to cap the percent, but I wasn't sure.
I came out at exactly 7%. I like
Came out at 6.8. Andrew, do you have a comment on this? We're talking about setting a cap.
Yeah, when I did my sample one, I set it at 7.3 as my starting point. I actually came out a little bit lower and then just threw in the extra $500 remainder I had to somebody else, little bonus.
I notice a lot of these, they say they'd like to get off the city doles as such. So I think we should be aiming at reducing these.
Right, over time, yes.
Over time,
Yeah.
just to get people in the idea that they're reducing them.
I was thinking if we set a target with a goal towards a lower target would be a nice strategy to have. We might be done.
Looking for next year.
Anyone want to make a recommendation about setting a cap for this year? We can talk about a bigger strategy later, but. Aaron?
I recommend we cap it at 7% this year, and with a target to reduce that percentage over the next 5 years.
Second.
Yeah.
Okay, any further discussion? Very good. Vote on it, all in favor?
Sure.
Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed?
So is that over the next 5 years?
7% this year, 7% in 2015.
Better stick it to 4 years. We're only here for.
7% 2015, and a reducing percentage over the years subsequent to that, but not specifying how much.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
Would council like a policy drafted something to that effect? Doesn't have to be something complicated, just in terms of we can have a policy that community support will be 7% in 2015, and over the next 4 years we reduce that to a potential target.
6%, 5%?
I had thought 5%, but I didn't. And hope that
I
our
think
revenues go up.
5% would be a great target.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay.
So was it targeting 5%, working our way down, or starting?
Yeah.
Right.
No, sorry, going
Yeah,
from
okay.
7 with the goal to get down to 5.
Yeah, shrink it down a little bit each year to 5.
Right,
I like it.
gradually.
Yep.
Okay, that sounds good.
One
So-
thing I was thinking too is, and this is for next year too, but change up the way we write it a little bit to have more like a regular grant proposal where you say we're going to judge it on XXX things, and then we can really put in there at the top level of people that are doing things that generate new revenue and things that help them become more self-sustainable. So that's for next year though, just a bit of a rewrite.
We can rewrite
To the
that policy.
application.
We just had that policy put in last year,
Yeah.
right? It was the first time we've ever really had a formal policy application thing.
And then we want to announce it relatively soon after we give these ones out, so you'll have plenty of time to
Right,
adjust plans.
right.
Yeah, sharpen your pencils.
Yeah.
All right, no,
Do we need to vote on that recommendation?
oh, I
Yes,
thought we did.
We did. We did?
We did, yeah.
You probably took a hand up.
But I think we added the 5% thing after, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
I don't think that has, oh, we're just gonna write policy on that.
Can I just, resolve the committee of the whole recommend to council to set a rate at 7% for 2015 with a target to reduce the percentage in subsequent years.
Yeah.
Brilliant, I knew I'd put something like that.
Yes, and then Lois had talked about bringing the policy back, so based
Yeah, I
on
just made a
that,
note of that.
and
Yeah.
that can happen.
Okay, so just to give you a history, I think everybody's already looked at this already, just in terms of what the percentage has been of property taxes. I just wanted to, if I just point out though that if we have a 2% property tax increase, that one at the bottom line, the 2015 estimate, the 8.78, that is what everybody has requested. So if we increase property taxes by 2%, it's going to come out at 8.78 if we gave everybody what they'd asked for. But if we want to keep it at the 2014, that was the dollar value we're going to aim for, but we're kind of past that anyway, so I'll just move on. So we're aiming for 7%. So that's the history there, and then the column on the far right hand side is basically what everybody's requested for. So it's kind of time for me to stop talking and pass on to yourself.
Okay.
I will keep a track of the percentage though as we go through it.
Okay, so one of the things we've done in past meetings is everyone's reviewed the applications, right? And it's kind of had that's what we came up with, a spreadsheet, you can play with numbers yourself and come up with. So we could just start at the top and go down through the list and see where everybody comes out with what they're suggesting. Does that work for people?
So Art, to be clear, as we go through them one by one, do we finish the discussion on the first one and decide on a target and then move on to the next one, or?
I think what we want to do is have a discussion, put in what we think is the right number, go through the bottom, see where we end up, because we
Right.
now set ourselves a target,
Yeah, yeah.
right? And if we
And
have to go
then
back
we
and
just-
adjust, and then at the end, we'll make one recommendation. Tracy, will this work for you? We'll make one recommendation that lists all the groups with what we've decided on. We're going to have
Makes
a...
it really easy for me.
Okay.
So you want to start with an average of each person for each line, that's what we're saying?
Um,
Average out what we all say?
You know, that's interesting.
Could do
That's,
that.
yeah, that's how we do it. That's how we've done it for...
Or just put each of us in a different
I
line?
didn't give you that spreadsheet. That's what we do for the community initiative grants that
Oh, really?
come from
That's a good idea.
CBT. Yeah, quick spreadsheet for that one. We could do it that way. Let's somebody would have to keep a spreadsheet going and on that to make that happen, so everybody keep in their numbers.
Yep, I will, I'm already on that.
You're already
Master
on
of
that?
spreadsheets.
Okay.
He's adding columns like crazy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so meanwhile, we can start talking, we want to start talking about the Chamber of Commerce. Anyone have anything to say about the Chamber of Commerce?
Karen?
Aaron?
I was struck as I went through this by, the fact that the chamber doesn't boast as much as relative to these other groups, who a lot of them have turned in a really stunning performance and lots of results that translate into tangible benefits for the town. Relative to that, I was struck by the fact that the chamber didn't contribute that much, but was asking for a lot.
Good.
which is the basis for, I actually cut them back in my spreadsheet.
Okay, so Lois, are you ready to take down numbers of what people are saying?
Yes.
Okay, does anyone else want to speak to the chamber, or do you want to just talk out your numbers for the chamber?
I have a few couple particular points in there. Actually, I had quite a few questions, but where I ended up at the end was, I did everybody as a 16% cut except for a couple, and then I had an additional cut thinking about, and this is partly looking at Deanne's book of talking about, there was a $20,000 item in there for the vacation planner, and then reading in Deanne's application, it says how there was talk back and forth, and they decided not to do the planner, so I was thinking if you're cutting out a $20,000 initiative, you still need $20,000. And probably you need some of it to do the smaller version of the local business directory they talked about, so I suggested the 16% cut I had for everyone, plus an additional $5,000 off of the, thinking that that was coming out of the tourism book budgeted money. So I didn't take a big chunk out of it, we could take up to that whole thing, but I thought 5 or 10 of the 20 made some sense, so they have room left to build the smaller business directory
Okay, so
version.
you're talking about the chamber who's asking for 41,000.
Yeah, so my end number ended up being 35,027, which is still higher than 2014, and I would be okay to drop that a bit. But I was trying to keep it consistent with my thinking on the rest.
Okay, anyone else want to talk about the chamber?
I just, you know, I look at the associate membership and, you know, and the numbers that they claim that are members and the money they get in as dues. You know, I don't think they're doing a good job there, and, you know, they haven't got a commitment with a lot of the business people. The other thing that really, I don't know that the chamber should be so involved in events and things. I reduced the chamber back to $32,450, the same as last year, and I thought I was being generous because, you know, I look at the economic climate, the Canadian dollar now. You know, when we had the big expansion at Red Mountain, we had American money coming in here and they put it up in the mountain and they built all those condos. And I just think the chamber's role should be, if we talk economic development for the area, they should be trying to promote more of the area and try to bring some of these American dollars in. Now, I know it's dependent on broadband or however we proceed in that regard, but I'd like to see that kind of effort, not so much kind of events that I call fluffy kind of things.
Anybody else has a word on the chamber? I'd like to comment.
Lois, can I make one adjustment? I gave you the wrong number there. I think I said 35,027, I meant to say 30,027.
Well, I was really tough on this one. I actually gave the chamber nothing, because I haven't been convinced of the value. A number of the things that were listed in there about participating in all of these, the LCCET and all these other things, which was a body I sat on and basically saw them at once. And I'm just not, you know, in prior to the election, talking to a lot of the business people in downtown. Now, I don't really know their full membership. They have a whole list of members, but actually, I was like, I think there's groups here that give a greater benefit to the community, and I didn't see a lot of support for the chamber amongst the chamber members. There was a survey that went out, I think it's now a couple of years ago, and it was something like, there were very few people who responded, but of those who did respond to their own chamber thing, many of them said they didn't see a lot of value in it. So to me, it's like, this is taxpayer money. This has to be supporting the community, and I just don't see it there. I see some of the other groups stronger. So Lois, put me down for 0.
Okay.
Okay, so everybody else give a number. Oh, John?
Doesn't the chamber's money come out of business licenses?
Well, business licenses come to the city.
Come to the city,
We
but
do what we want with it, and we give
yeah.
them to the chamber.
in the past it's been given to the chamber.
Well, I think only once it was officially tied, wasn't it? It's not.
And you know, it's not standard, it's not good practice to hypothecate funding like that, to say, this stream of revenue, we're gonna dedicate to that. It should all come in, and then you decide how it goes out. I know historically we've done that, but it's not good practice.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Also,
I'd just like to give you a
chamber
little history on the chamber. The chamber, when I was involved, before I was involved, it was accommodators who were on the board and running it. Then when I was involved, I got it to the downtown businesses that were involved. Now it seems to be the contractors who are involved. The downtown businesses aren't that interested in it. So it seems to go around whichever part of the business community you're in. That's who's
I was
on the
looking
board.
for the value, in their application, I was looking for the value to the citizens of Rossland, and I read it as carefully as I could and didn't find just much in the way of value. Okay, we gotta keep moving though, we're on our first one, so give number, you can give any number now, and we can go back and adjust later when we go around, but everybody should put a number so we'll have something. Andy,
Sorry, can I just get your number again?
concurring.
What was your number again, sorry?
32,450.
Okay, Andy said zero.
I'm also in agreement that I think, I don't see the value, not when I see what else is being done with funds, business funds in the community. So I would say zero as well.
Okay, I believe in the chamber, so I'll stay at the 32,451.
I said, are you ready for more input?
You're saying at the 41,000?
32,451.
32,450.
As a former downtown businessman.
Yep. Yep.
I did see
Said 30,000.
Is that everybody?
Yep. So
Okay.
let me just
And you
make
play
sure,
it?
let me just, sorry, I'm just,
Perhaps Lois should just go through it.
yeah, I was about to say, just for the first one, just so I can get my gist going. So, I've got, let me go around the room, 30,000. Andy, nil. Kathy, nil. Andrew, 30,027.
Yep.
John is 32,451, and Lloyd is 32,450. Yep, everybody.
Yep,
good.
we're good.
So the average of all those is 33,325.
That sounds off.
That sounds way off.
It's not right.
Yeah,
You got
it's
two
real
zeros.
high with
Two
two
zeros.
zeros.
Oh, two zeros,
Two
yeah.
zeros, five,
And there's six of us.
or six.
There you go, if I put a zero in the cell, then that's 23,804, sorry.
Okay, on to the Arts Council, and you know what, you don't even have to give us the average now. We
Okay.
can go around,
Yep.
and then at the end, we'll look, because we'll probably have to do some more straightening at the
Yep.
end.
Hey, ask a quick question.
Yeah.
Are we able to ask questions back to the groups? Because we're not going to officially decide on this tonight, but we'll
That's
have a
right.
recommendation. If we have a bunch of questions, can we combine those
Yep.
together and send them over? Because I had a bunch,
Absolutely.
especially sorry, I'm talking too fast for my own mind here.
Mhm.
Especially for the chamber, I have a whole bunch
Yeah.
of questions.
Yeah, we can do it. We're just making recommendations, we're not passing it, there's nothing
Okay.
final about
Yeah,
what we're
because
doing.
depending on the answer, it might change my mind, but maybe not.
Right, okay. Okay, so Arts Council is asking for 4,000. What do I hear? Aaron?
These guys, I read them right after the chamber, and I was so blown away by the amount of stuff they actually achieved, and the amount of leverage they got, the small amount of money we gave them. That was what just hit me about the contrast there. I'm delighted to give them the full 4,000 that they asked.
Yeah, okay. Let's just go quickly around the
Yeah.
room, and if you're just agreeing, just.
Agree.
Agree, okay. 4,000, 4,000.
4,000.
4,000.
4,000, 4,000, everybody, hey, that's a quick one. Okay, how about the Trail Society? They're asking for 20,500, and they were hoping for a cost of living increase if we saw fit. Who wants to start that one up?
What do they get from the other communities?
They get 68,000, I think, from the regional district. But the regional district communities basically only support it because we support it. If we stop supporting, they'll stop supporting, because the vast majority of trails are in our area.
Yeah, but
Also
they've
got
been,
the
the last few years, they've been doing more trails elsewhere than here, actually.
Yeah, but the network is
They
here.
did get other municipal funding too, I think Trail.
Montrose.
Montrose, was it? I think so.
Are you sure?
I mean, I
thought I saw-
Oh, you know what, on project basis.
Couple
they did.
specific
Yeah,
projects.
That's right,
okay.
true, they did,
Okay.
versus some projects.
For the Montrose Trail, the one that.
Yeah.
um,
that
The antenna
trailer.
trail.
Yes, that one.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah,
I have them the same.
had them the same, okay.
Yep.
Uh,
Me too.
Same for John?
I had deduct 1% for the sake of making my budget work, but basically same.
Same, I'm same,
2,500, same.
okay, so then, now we're on to Tourism Roslin. So one thing I want to say, I'm gonna just start Tourism Roslin real quick. The one thing I want to say about Tourism Roslin is I see them a little bit as a victim of their own success. They are doing so well, they're doing so much, but they also leverage their money like crazy, right? They are the most successful at weaning themselves off of us, you know, and I think we should continue that trend of encouraging them to wean themselves off of us. So, Lloyd?
That was my impression too, and I see how much money what they did in Weaver's, more money, and they bring
Yeah.
a lot of money in. I was the same on that one.
They're amazingly productive.
Mhm.
John?
They're amazingly productive, but how much of skier visits increased with the budget they have?
Their job is, you know, heads in beds, right? And they've.
Yeah,
they've
and
really-
how many heads in beds are they getting?
Well, they've gotten a lot now, is it all?
How many of those are from
Exactly.
skiers coming, or how many of those are being filled by tech?
Yeah, it's like advertising, 50% of it is a total waste of money. It's knowing which 50% is valuable.
Well, I've been hearing that most of those beds are from tech.
Yeah, it's shut down October, November,
Shut-
but does it
yeah.
really make a difference in terms of economic development?
Well, but, you know, they're spending all this money, is that really doing any good to bring people here when tech's filling the beds? How much are the skier visits increasing?
Yeah.
I see the same empty chairs going up year after year.
Well, I know they had, I think it was, I remember this correctly from Christine Anderson. I think she said there were 20 skier groups last year, and there are 29 groups this year.
Yeah.
And if you look at the promotion, not the advertising, the articles and everything that are done, those people are brought in through Tourism Rossland, toured around, you know, whatever. I mean, you know, it's really hard to say, but
Well,
I'd say they're one of the most
just my gut
successful
feeling,
groups
I
we've
don't
got.
think skier visits are increasing very much.
Yeah, well,
As a snow host, you know, they are bringing in more groups, but
yeah. It's also for season tours too, so,
Yeah.
yeah, and Nordic.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, one of the things that they have done, I think successfully, is recognize the need for season marketing. And, you know, if it's golf, and I'm not so sure how much that's driving, but I certainly know that from the mountain bike standpoint, community has changed a lot since I moved here, in the summer months. So, they might be using some of the capital that they've got from the fact that they're able to fill the beds from tech, but I see it being put into really positive marketing. And at the very least, John, I wonder
Well,
how much,
yeah.
how much we wouldn't have if it wasn't for, being so aggressive at their marketing.
Well, the nice thing with the tech too is that it falls in the shoulder months too, so it's October, November when the hotels are otherwise empty, so it's fantastic to fill them up in off-season. And I would suspect the customer acquisition cost is way higher on skiers than it is on tech shutdown workers. So any less money you get, you're also spending a whole lot less to get those tech guys than you are to get the skiers. Skiers are expensive to get.
yeah, but my question is, how do you measure how many skiers we're getting?
Well, I'm sure Red measures that, but what Tourism Rossland measures is they measure the revenue brought in by heads in beds, right? If you look at any of their reports, the Tourism Rossland does the best reporting of pretty much any community group we've got in terms of following their stats from year on year since they were started in whatever year they were started. So,
Okay, well,
Aaron,
like
you wanna
Andrew
go
said,
first?
with the Chamber of Commerce, he has more questions, so I would just like to see what the skier visits are at Red Mountain.
I'm not sure that Red will share that, but you're welcome to
Any
ask.
other ski resort does.
Yeah, I don't know, have we ever asked? I don't think we've ever asked.
They're not very accurate though too, you know how many times those little guns don't work?
Yeah, right.
Right.
Okay, so you haven't spoken yet?
Just quickly, this was another one that, I scored highly for getting great leverage on the funds that we get them, and as you noted, they've gone down from a budget of 39 to 25. Their ask is continuously getting lower. From the outside, it looks like they've got a great list of achievements. I agree with John, you don't know how much of the, increased accommodations is actually due to their efforts, but I don't know how you answer that either, right? How do you establish that kind of?
Well, you can ask the accommodators,
I guess.
and the accommodators will tell you all their visits are tech.
Right? And then, but,
That's,
so, you still don't know what the
Yeah.
impact of their efforts have been. So on the remaining beds, if you check out the tech beds, how many of those beds were filled because of Tourism Rossland's efforts, how many weren't? I don't know how you do that.
Yeah, I don't
Your
either.
gut feeling tells you there's not more people. My gut feeling, when I see those articles in the, you know, En Route magazine and the, New York Times and the other ski travel magazines, Powder magazine, my gut feeling says that's gotta have some impact. And it's good work, it's worked out well.
Well,
Yeah, and, they're asking for 28.5, which isn't, or 25, I mean, they're actually asking for less,
Right.
so.
Lloyd?
I'm just gonna reiterate what Andy said there. the marketing is tremendous that they're doing. I flew to Ontario, and there's a 5-page thing in Air Canada. I flew with Air Canada. There's 5 pages in Air Canada booklets on board on Rossland. Pictures.
Oh, yeah.
It mentions the mayor of Squaw Creek.
Okay, so quick round the room, how are we giving them? Start with Aaron.
25,001.
Andy.
Yeah, the same.
20,000 for me.
I talked him to 25,000.
25,000.
25.
Okay, you guys, you're not trying to help them move on.
Okay, I'll go 20,000 then.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I'll
let's
go
switch
20,000.
gears. All right, next is Wild Safe, the Bearware Group. Has a group report from them, and the supplemental report was sent out. You guys all saw that, I hope. Anybody want to start up on that one? That one's a small one. And
I think it's an important asset to the community. I think that they have definitely brought the awareness of our residents up to the importance of picking their apples and electrifying their beehives. And after the incident that I had in November, I purchased my electric fencing, and it'll be going up in the spring. So it's a small investment and that the community makes, and I think it's made an impact on them. I know the Bears had a great season with the huckleberries this year. That could very well change next year, and there's a need to keep people aware of their habits and their practices around their homes and businesses, by the way, which I think has been somewhat of the greater impact.
okay, so you're going for 2,500?
Yeah. I'll give it to 25.
Okay, any other comments on that, or just do the numbers?
Really quick comment.
Yeah.
Following a good huckleberry year, you get a lot of twins. So
Yeah.
it's actually going to be, we should be worried this time. So I go for 2,500.
Okay, I go 2,500 too.
I went down to 2,100.
Okay,
I'll go 2,100.
I went to 1,500.
1,500, okay. Really? You guys, you're so cheap.
I've been living in Sarah's all my life.
Okay,
I know by name coming to my
The
ear.
next is the recreation grant, and, I was thinking maybe we could just pull this one out, because we are gonna try and make some other agreement. This was, you guys know what this one is, right? This is if you're a senior, or you're a youth, or, physically handicapped or someone. I was thinking, because we might be able to work something out with trails, pull that separately. I don't know whether that's a good idea or not, but that's what I was thinking. I gave it 0, not because I don't intend to support the community's recreation efforts, but just because I was gonna deal with it a different way. Lloyd?
Just speaking of that, and they're oversubscribed for this particular grant, but I think they've committed to $7,000 to the people who've already spent money. So, and I went back through the history. At one time, the Rossland Council talked about making 40,000 available, then they reduced it to 20,000, then when they weren't taking the full 20, it kept going down. Now they're at 7, and I'm not one of those, by the way, but the people that applied for it have already spent the money, so I think I would leave it at 7.
But this is for next year, right?
Oh, for next year, I think
Yeah.
we'll wipe it out, I hope.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would agree. I think it's important to recognize that the initiatives that we're going to take with Trail
Yeah.
Is where our priorities need to go, and this is kind of redundant, pursue both.
I'd say to be prudent, you put the 7,000 in there, and if you don't have to spend it because we've reached an agreement, then that's nice. We can use that 7,000 for something else. But if we don't put the 7,000 in there, and for some reason we don't reach the agreement with Trail, we leave the stingrays high and dry and all the stingrays that
Yeah,
go to
that's a
school.
good point. Okay. Oh, wait a minute, something happened, didn't change my percentage.
So it's,
Okay, so, any other comments on that?
I also had 0 for the same reason, and also thinking that if we do value the recreation center, we should value it for everybody, not just the
Yeah.
groups. So I'd pull it out in the hopes of making a recreation deal.
I'd say pull it out because it would give us more reason to get a recreation deal.
Although,
A little more
if we
pressure.
pull it out,
Well, we're not
unable
feeling the
to,
pain. We're not the ones that feel the pain.
Yeah, if we pull it out, and we're unable to make a deal and to find an accommodation of some sort with Trail, then we've got nothing in the budget, which is Aaron's point.
Are we really strapped for $7,000 at that point?
We're strapped for $1,000.
There you go.
So,
Okay.
yeah. Anyway, okay, so we'll go around the room. Aaron?
7,000.
7.
I'll agree there on that one.
Okay, 7,000. I'm going back to 7,000 too. He swayed me.
Oh, boy, I think I'll still say 0 and go rec grant, go rec deal.
Yeah, well, it's not that we're not gonna try and
Yeah,
do the
yeah.
rec grant, right? It's
We're saying this is just in case.
In case it doesn't work, 'cause we
Okay,
have-
well, in the case of just in case, then I would,
But it's
No,
not
I'm-
even that it won't work.
I'm
I
still-
certainly believe it's gonna work. The question is the timing.
right?
Are these guys gonna be able to apply for this money in time? If our negotiations with Trail stretch out for 8 months?
Mhm,
Right.
What are we telling them? Just wait.
Mhm. Yeah, meanwhile, they need to buy their
Yeah.
passes.
I'll go 7K in just in case.
Okay, John?
Okay, I'll go 7, just in case.
Okay,
I left it alone, 7.
okay. All right, let's see, next up, miscellaneous grants and aid. Now, this is the thing we use for mostly school bursaries, right, for the graduates of various high schools and, you know.
We don't have any high schools. So.
Well, but we do give
We got
to,
7
Rossland students elsewhere, right?
7 Summit's got a couple of bursaries.
Yes,
Oh,
Seven
right.
Summits did, and we did one or two at Crow, I think, for Roslyn students, right? And then
Right.
same at the other, what used to be the Trail Middle School, is now
That's
alternative
Kootenai
high school.
Columbia Learning Center?
Yes, exactly.
Seven Summit Self-Awareness Jail Crow?
Yes. Okay, so I'm gonna say leave that in at 1,800. I don't think we spent it, but I'm saying leave it there. That's my vote around the table.
1800 too.
1,800 for
1,800.
Andrew, for John, Lloyd,
I left 1,500.
1,500, Aaron,
1,800.
1,800.
I'll leave it at 18 as well.
1,800, okay. All right, now, Sustainability Commission. Well, let's say if
No,
we're going to.
Heritage.
Oh, I'm
Heritage
sorry, did I
Commission.
miss Heritage? Oh,
Yep.
sorry, okay, Heritage.
Don't you value heritage?
How do we value heritage? I skipped it. Now, I think you saw in their thing, the reason they're going up 1,000 is because they are committed to hosting the provincial, Heritage Conference that's happening in September, which would be really nice for the community. So that's why they're up, not just miscellaneous stuff. Aaron?
But specifically, they asked for a $1,000 contingency fund,
For that
for that event,
Yeah.
right? So my question is, if they don't spend it, what happens to that 1,000? Do we get it back?
We
So
could make that a
in
provision.
the list of questions we ask these groups, right?
Yeah,
Add that one too.
yeah.
Historically, if they've not spent all the money, it's gone into our surplus. It doesn't kind of
Right.
roll over.
Yeah. Well, to be clear, I'm sure they could spend the money. I'm sure they would if we gave it to them.
Yeah.
Well, maybe my supplementary question would be, could you please give us an accounting of how you spent it on the contingency, the unexpected item that the contingency fund is actually meant for?
Yeah, I was actually disappointed in this application because it didn't have any budget financial things
Yeah.
with it. And they have been a group that's received funding along the way, but I think that is one of the requirements we have in our application, and maybe when you look at, yeah.
In their defence, they did ask me for it on Tuesday, I think.
Only because I asked them for it.
Yeah, and I haven't managed to do it for them.
Yeah, but I think going forward, we really do need to say, that we need to have that information in. If someone brings us an application and it isn't complete, maybe when it's being checked in, yeah, Tracy.
The argument of the Heritage Commission is that it is a commission of council, and it's appointed by bylaw.
So
So that is why we
Sustainability
do
Commission.
look after their financials for them,
Yeah.
because they are, just like you would have any other committee of council, but this is a commission.
Well, so is the Sustainability Commission, and they still put forward a budget.
Yeah, no, I'm
and
just saying
how they
that
spend
was.
money.
That was the argument.
That was the argument.
Yeah, doesn't fly.
So is that why, Lois, you've been accosted to
Yep,
put the numbers together for them?
Yep, and the only reason the Sustainability Commission gets them is because they hound me practically every other week to know where the numbers are up to.
Okay. So.
Okay.
So,
It's out now. It's out
the
now.
Sustainability Commission, I kind of look out fairly frequently. Heritage Commission, I don't, because
No.
I rarely get asked the question.
Well, and part of that is I don't wanna slap them, right? Part of it is just communication. We need to be more clear than saying financials must be attached, because they're thinking, oh, the city provides it, and we're thinking, no, actually, if you're getting money from us, you're responsible for setting up a budget, right, of how you're gonna spend that money, and then telling us how you spent it, right? I don't care who you are, that needs to be expressed. Okay, so, do we want to say anything about if the $1,000 isn't spent for that will go any discussion.
One thing that came to mind when I saw their proposal, and I think it's awesome that they're hosting this event in the fall. It's the fall, right?
Yeah.
September. Yeah, anyway, I thought, what a great, tourism project. And I thought, well, that $1,000 really maybe should be coming from the tourism side of, the community rather than, direct initiative. From the city.
That's an interesting fact.
So who would actually pay for it then?
Well, and tourism Rossland. I mean,
The
it's
money that we give tourism, wasn't it?
Well, I recognize
It comes
that,
from us,
but
it
I
doesn't.
recognize
Yeah, I
that.
think it's just cleaner to have the group that's hosting actually be responsible for the budget, because it's not necessarily tourism that they're gonna be spending it on. They might be spending it on, you know.
Yeah, a lot of things
Right.
support of
we
the
do here
convention.
are tourism related.
Well,
so-
yeah, and I guess my thought was, okay, it's a great initiative, and it's gonna be really good for the community. And then who really benefits? And I was thinking, well, it's really gonna be about, you know, the businesses in the community are gonna be the big benefactors of that event.
Yeah.
So that was my thought anyways. I just
Yeah.
thought, well, wait a minute now.
Lloyd?
One of the things, when I looked at the extra $1,000, I was gonna leave it at the same, because and then they went on to say the details later, and then they said the Heritage Conference at $1,000. Would it be prudent for us to keep the grants the same and make a donation to them for hosting the conference as a separate item, and then it doesn't appear as a grant
Yeah.
as such?
Yeah, we could have it.
I like that.
Then we
I was gonna say
Distinguish it.
something similar.
Yeah.
$4,000 with $1,000 for the conference.
Well, I'd leave it at
5,000.
Or-
Yeah, okay, yeah, okay. So
Which brings it to
Tracy,
5.
that could be worded somehow in the, communication is to them.
Or we can, in the actual budget, we break it out as 2 line items.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Heritage Commission,
And convention.
and
Right.
then
Sure.
the convention itself is a budget line item of $1,000.
Mhm.
Then it's for next year,
Then we track.
And then you just
Then
take
we're
it
not
out.
building
Yeah.
on next.
yeah.
Lloyd?
Maybe we could just say 5 and then make a separate recommendation to council that we approve up to $1,000 to just help support the conference.
Okay.
And then if they don't spend up to 1,000, then.
Okay, so
then
that
we
sounds like
invoice
a
the
recommendation.
conference,
You're
might
making
get
a
few dollars
recommendation.
back.
Yeah.
Tracy's got your recommendation. So,
We recommend the council.
So it's to fund the Heritage Commission?
No.
How do you want to support it?
To fund the Heritage BC Conference, which
Okay,
is
yeah.
up to $1,000 in City of Rossland.
okay, do I have a seconder for that motion? Okay, Aaron's seconder, and any further discussion on that? Would like to-
I was wondering more information, like how many people are expected to come, what kind of people are they?
Just
who are
that.
they? I don't think I saw that one in there,
Well,
was
there was
there?
that
Did I miss that?
other sheet that she added later, also at my request.
I suspect it's folks similar to our Heritage Commission, just from other places.
Yeah, it's provincial wide, but
Yeah.
it wasn't a huge amount of people, actually. And I think she did say details about the actual convention were coming later, but I wasn't sure if in that one thing that she gave us, there was some more information. All right, the added sheet that they brought did give their plan of what they're doing, which is really good.
And a little more detail.
But she threw out something in her presentation, just verbally. I can't remember
I vaguely remember her saying, I thought she said that that they had no idea really how big or it might be or might not be.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought when she talked, she figured around 100 people.
Around 100 people?
Wasn't that in her
I
oral presentation?
remember an impressive number, whether I read it or heard it.
Yeah. Yeah, she does have something there. I think let's
There's nothing
maybe
in that
not get,
second.
well, there's in 11, it says the second invitation to Heritage BC to host its 2015 convention in Rossland. Commission felt Rossland could easily meet the requirements of $5,000 upfront cash, in-kind services, waived rental, etc. Lots of accommodation choices, venues for workshops, catering services. What an opportunity to showcase our community, our heritage resources, and the work of the commission. So we're giving them $1,000 towards what they're going to have to come up with in this 5,000. Although I'm sure they'll be coming back and asking for waiver of fees for bills or something. I don't know. Anyway, what's that, Aaron? Okay, so any more discussion about that?
this was my main example about, I think, rewriting the application process for next year. I know when I read this application, I was very disappointed. I thought if I was a grant funder, I would have thrown this one
Right.
out
Yeah, yeah.
right off. It doesn't, it almost read like there was a bit of entitlement, like, just give us
Yep.
money because we deserve it,
Well, I think that's the confusion maybe with the commission.
as being the commission, right?
And we can clarify that
I
Yeah.
don't think we can clarify that.
for next year.
Yeah.
So where I ended up putting them was, I wanted to try to see the $1,000 kept in, but then I also docked them 1,000, so I had 5 total, but still 1,000 conference.
Mhm. Mhm.
So which, if we make it a separate line item, make that a lot
Okay,
easier.
we're gonna make it two things then.
Okay. Can you just tell me your numbers again, sorry?
So let me see now.
Four,
I guess
four,
I had 4 and 1
Okay.
instead of 5 and 1.
Okay, 4 and 1, that's fine.
Okay. Lois, is it helpful for you to ask which order, so you're going on the same line all the time, the same order?
I've got everybody kind of sat in
Okay.
down the room, so whether we go that way or that
Okay,
way,
okay,
I'm
as long as
fine.
we're going
I can,
okay.
We don't have to talk about the 1,000, because we've just passed a
Okay.
recommendation for that, so we're just
Yeah.
talking about
We're
how
just
much is
talking
going
about
to
the-
the
Okay, so how much
So
is
four.
the commission?
4 from Andrew.
4 from Andrew. Aaron?
4.
4.
5.
4.
5.
Okay. Okay. Right, oops. I lost one. Okay, next up is Sustainability Commission. Now, Sustainability Commission used to be funded by the city when they had a paid manager, and then that switched, and they basically lost all their funding a year ago? 2 years ago. A year ago. And we're using staff time, for taking meeting notes and attending meetings. So that's some of the background of why that money is the way it is. Anybody want to start that one up?
I guess I can start.
Okay.
And this one's a little bit curious because it came in the fall, right? So it's sort of, we don't really have a work plan until after the January 28th event
That's
so
right.
much, so it's a little bit tricky. But I had them in there as being almost the same as what their ask was. I think I had to make a 1% cut to make my numbers balance, so I had them at 20,790.
And
I, like you, I'm a little concerned that to make any estimate right now felt premature for me. And I was hesitant to put any number on there until January, so I don't know, or later in January when we get the opportunity to see what the strategy is.
okay, I had put them in because they did have some ideas of what they were doing, and my concern about not putting anything in was, it's like we're punishing them because they didn't have their strategy done. They really couldn't have their strategy done because they didn't know what was gonna happen, if they were going to have
around the
support,
table.
right? They've had a couple of years of
Yeah.
being, kicked pretty hard. So, I gave them the 21, and in hopes that they will be able to, work wonders with that, which is what they used to do. They used to be able to leverage their funding really well. There's a hand over here. Lloyd.
I gave it 15, and I thought, to increase it from 5,000, 15 certainly shows commitment and support. So I upped that, or reduced that 21 to 15,000.
Okay. Aaron, you ready?
I actually also, was thinking 15. It's hard, and I'm just repeating what's already been said. They couldn't really give us a plan of what they wanted to do, and I was one of the ones that argued that they shouldn't when I was still on the Sustainability Commission, because, I argued they're a creature of council. They should be, taking direction from council on what our priorities are that they can help us with. But we haven't had time to tell them what our priorities are, and they don't have any leftover history from previous council as to what their priorities were. So they're in a tough situation. They could have come to us and said, we want to do exactly the same thing we did last year, and give us the money to do that. I argued strongly that they shouldn't do that. So if you want to look to anybody to blame for the lack of specifics in this budget, blame me. I argued that no, put in a marker budget, go on trust because you've got a good record of accomplishment. Try to bargain on the trust that you gained in this council, to put a marker budget in, and I promised them I would argue that I have faith that they can actually produce good results with that money, and historically they have.
So what's your number?
15.
15, okay. Andy, did you give a number?
I didn't, said 0 originally, but I'm gonna go with 15 as well.
Okay, and I'm going with 21.
And I had basically 28,790.
Okay, John?
I'll go with 15.
Okay, Lloyd?
I already
Oh, you
said
did
15.
15, okay. All right, next up we have tennis. So tennis has been flat for as long as history shows until this year. Those greedy guys, they want
Apparently,
to-
the tennis courts are not flat, that's the problem.
That's the problem.
Yes.
Okay, so who wants to start off tennis courts?
These guys, I never used tennis court, I never even go there, so I had no idea. But reading their report, I was impressed, a good level of service to the community, and tons of volunteer hours, which, you know, if we're going through a standardized grant application rewrite of the type that Andrew suggests, and I agree with that, the volunteer hours has got to be one box to tick off. They've got it in spades. They have special needs this year, it's a small request, I wanted to give them a full month.
Okay, Andy?
I'll agree with that.
Yep, you do.
I had it down a little lower because I needed to move down to get everybody to fit, and I had it down at 2520, so half of the extra 1,000 basically was gone. And then thinking that this is another perfect crowdfunding project where you can put it out to users of the court to try to resurface it, get the people that it matters the most to chip a little bit in. It shouldn't be too hard of a sell.
I'd like to see that, but I'll go with 3,000.
Okay, Lloyd?
I had 3.
Okay.
Didn't want to
making
get Laura
crowdsource
mad.
for the minute.
Didn't want Laura fighting with us.
Okay, now we are to the museum. So the museum had, if you look back at history, they were fairly flat for a while, and they got a big bump up in 2013 as they were starting, I think that's when they started in their winter hours. And then 2014, the same amount. This year they're requesting more. So where are we there? We want to start museum?
I could start, I guess.
Okay.
And I can note that Maureen and Libby and I had a really good chat and coffee last week. And just in the 20-30 minutes we spent, the ideas were flowing, which I know they have a million ideas already. We don't need more unbuilt out ideas. The one that concerns me the most is when I was looking at the visitor numbers versus the amount we give. If you compare it to KCTS, where it's about 10 cents a user, this one it was more like $10 a user. So it's way out of whack, the two. But I mean, I know the hard times with the mine tour closing is a big one, but this is another one where I'll submit and send you guys a bunch of these thoughts too. So my end number, I guess, to save all the questions was, let me flip sheet, 44,520, which is roughly a 16% cut over the ask, which is what I tried to do with everybody.
Okay. Who's next? John, you want to speak up on that one?
Well, I know when I was involved with it, being open in the winter is expensive and very little money coming in from it. But I think they should be open, so I'll go with 48.5.
Okay.
Stay the same.
Lloyd?
I have 40,000.
40,000. Okay. Aaron?
I'm a little pessimistic about their chances of long-term success staying open in the winter, and I know they've got great ideas. But if you look at the numbers for last year, they aren't good. They achieved over the winter season, you know, a fraction of what they got in 1 month in their busy season. But the costs are enormous because they got to heat that stupid building.
They got to heat,
right? So I wonder whether it's a smart idea to stay open in the winter in the long term. I wonder whether it even makes sense to be up there because you can't go in the mine anymore. So, you know, they don't even have to be in that property. I wonder a lot of stuff. But I think it would be unfair to pull the rug out from under them at this point in the budget cycle and say, no, we think you should move to the Leroy Mall or something like that. So I voted to give them $45,000, but put them on notice that, you know, they've got a year to demonstrate to us that their vision is realistic. But if they don't after that year, this is a big budget act, right? If you put together this 45 with the 20-something that we do in operational support for them, that's as much as we give to the Tourism Rossland and the Chamber and the Trail Society altogether, right? Are we convinced that we're getting that much value for money out of the museum? I have my doubts, but I'm willing to give them a chance to demonstrate me wrong. So I voted $45,000.
Okay, Andy?
My thinking is very similar to Aaron's. I think that, you know, it is an expensive building to operate. I do as well question the idea of wintertime, usage. And the fact that it's isolated from the community. And, when you look at our downtown core, with empty buildings and such, I wonder whether a satellite museum in the winter might make a lot more sense. You know, I trust the people that are involved in the museum. It's got a storied history in the community. I think it's an important asset. I just think it's got to look at evolution. And I really hope that they take the funding that we're providing and that others are putting into it this year to continue to make that evolution happen. I'm not sure that you know, the multi-million-dollar investment is worthy in the long term, but I think it's, for me too, it's kind of putting them on notice for me.
Okay.
So I would agree with Aaron's math as well.
So what was your number?
45?
Sorry. Okay. I put them back to 48,500. They have a new manager who's doing a great job. I wanted them, right? We just have so many competing interests that, you know, going to 53 was out of the question. But I don't, you know, I want to see them succeed. And like you, I'm not sure that their present form is going to be success, right? So anyway, I'm at 48.5. Lloyd?
Well, the new person up there, I think she's got lots of energy, but I think the future is in portable exhibits. I think they should change their exhibits downtown continually. She talked about exhibits at the ski lodge and even in the arena and that kind of thing. So, you know, if they show that kind of initiative, it's fine. But the location is against no question.
John?
The exhibits downtown, we tried that once. We put a nice exhibit in one of the empty storefronts down the other end of town. And the very next day I was talking to an RCMP officer and he says, oh, that won't stay there very long. As soon as the guys on drugs and trail hear about all this valuable stuff, you know, window in Rossland, it'll be gone. So that night I went and took it all out. So an exhibit in town has to be big, heavy stuff that's not valuable. Like that huge chunk of silver, you can never do that.
Okay, we're cutting it a little bit off our topic here, but...
Well, I wish, you know, I support them, wish them the best success, so I'll go with 48.5.
48.5, okay. Didn't we already go across over here?
Yeah, I already
Yep.
said that.
I support it.
Yep. Yeah, okay. Okay, so we're done there. We're moving on to the library. So the library was pretty flat for a number of years. They were asking for a big bump up this year. They have big plans for renovation, but these aren't the renovation plans. This is just the programming and stuff. Who would like to start off on the library? Lloyd would.
I have them 126.
126, okay.
I left them.
Okay.
Yeah, 126.
126.
I had 115.80.
What did you have?
115,080.
Okay. I had 128. Andy?
120, sorry. 126.
126. Aaron?
I also did 126. I was really impressed with the presentation they came here with. I was really impressed with the numbers. You know, over 40,000 visitors accessing and increasing. The trends in their numbers are all going up, right? And I'm really confident in the energy and drive and imagination they've got. I never use it, so I had no idea it was being used at all. So I voted for 126. You know, I'd like to give them more, but but we just can't. 126, I think.
Welcome to our world here.
Yeah.
Okay, the last one, you got everybody, Lois, right?
Yep.
The last one is the Visions for Small Schools for helping get Seven Summits off the ground. Aaron, start us out.
Well, it's already off the ground, right?
Yeah.
As we all know,
Keep it
this is their
flying.
second year of operation. This year, they actually hired an administrator, because the first year they ran it, they had less than 6 months notice from the time that RSS was reconfigured to the time they needed to actually be teaching students in September. So basically, they scrambled like hell to get together, and it was all done on the backs of volunteers at board. This year, they bumped up the facilities fees to $2,000 per student, or roughly $2,100, I think, and were able to hire an administrator. But if you look at their books, they're hanging on by the skin of their teeth, and they're still putting in a lot of hours, volunteer hours from the board. I think anything we can do to help these guys make it work is a good thing, and not just because of the value that they bring to education in Rossland, but let me start there. In the OCP, we say K-12 is an important thing for Rossland, right? It's important to still have that option. And I want to stress, because this was a misconception in the previous council, this is not a private school. This is a publicly funded school. That $2,000 goes to pay for the rent, the heat, the administrator, right? It's a publicly funded school run through self-design. The other, going past education, the fact that they are there allowed Rossland to keep the academy, right? We could not have done that without them being there. And that's a huge economic driver for Rossland. All those kids, I saw estimates from the academy on the multiplier effects from each skier of upwards of $10,000. I don't know if that's right, but I think those estimates are in the right ballpark. Once you bring their parents into town on frequent visits, staying at the hotels, shopping in places, they're buying their ski equipment here. I think those are big multipliers, plus the money they spend on local housing and accommodations. So as an economic development benefit, also important. And a minor economic development benefit, which you may have seen in the support letters for this ask, the fact that it keeps some kids in town that downtown businesses can employ on a part-time basis that actually get back in time to work an afternoon shift, because the kids that go down the trail can't do that, right? Seems trivial, but you ask a downtown merchant, go ask Trish and Mark Nugget about that. It's not trivial, but they really, it's a problem. So for a number of reasons, I support giving these guys some money. I can't support giving them $21,000 though, from 0 to 21.
Let's go around the room and chat about it and come back and do numbers. What do you think?
Yeah, I concur too. I think that it is important to the community to have a K-12 school, and yes, I know there's been lots of criticism or about the fact that it conflicts with the public system, but like Aaron said, it is a public system, and I hope that there's an eventual turnaround at the board level so that they recognize how important it is for K-12 in Rossland, and I see our population continuing to need K-12, if anything, increasingly need K-12. I want to support the school, and if we can banter around with numbers, but somehow I want to support the school.
I totally agree with what you guys are saying, and to add to those, the other piece that I was thinking about was the people that are starting this up are unbelievable, amazing go-getters, and those are the kind of people we want to put our money behind, and people that are really making things happening and driving things forward. Like, these are the kind of group that will get themselves sustainable, I would think, pretty quickly in the next few years. So I'd love to give it all of them. I ended up putting a number in of $17,958.
I know that Sun Peaks has a very similar school, and they graduated their first grade 12 student 2 years ago, I think, who's gone on to wonderful things. So I support them fully, and I go with the 21,000.
Lloyd?
I put down $10,000, and I think that the numbers have to, there was a demand more than they could accommodate, and I can see in the future that maybe our role in supporting that endeavor is going to be in-kind service with maybe a facility or something like that. And if we would get our grant money too high and then compound it with providing a facility, if they all go to the facility, and they're on the verge of that right now, then I think our contribution would be enormous. I like the fact that the people in this area have the three options. They got the public school, they got the Catholic school, and they got the Seven Stone School. I think that's really good, and it goes in with our OCP. But I'd like to, 1 year, I want to see more proof of the pudding, I guess.
Okay, well, I also really strongly support them. I think it's a great initiative. I am bothered by the fact that school is not a municipal mandate, right? It's a provincial mandate, and this is one more opportunity for, you know, the province basically to download if we start taking on education. So for me, the reason I'm supporting it is because, I see it as transitional. They're just getting off the ground, to my mind. Yes, they were there last year, and, you know, they're just getting off the ground. But I really wanna see them thrive, and I don't want them to wither on the vine, right, you know, so I want to support them this time. Okay, so let's finish up with numbers. Aaron?
15.
15.
15 as well.
Yeah, 15 for me too. And then you guys have already given yours. Okay. So,
Okay.
back
How
to
do we do
you,
those?
Lois.
Do we
Give us
hit
the
the
numbers.
mark
What
exactly?
how do we do?
Okay, so the target was 7%. The only person who's come in at 7% is Andy. Everybody else is over 7%, and the average across the board is 7.42. So the average, we would need to shave off 16,400.
Okay.
That's the total.
Give us the numbers that you had per group, just starting at the top.
Yeah.
Wait. Okay.
Everybody ready?
Yeah.
So the chamber is 20,821. The arts and culture is 4,000. KCTS is 20,466. Tourism Rossland 23,334. Bear Aware is 2,200. The recreation program is 7,000. The miscellaneous is 1,750. The heritage, excluding the conference, is 4,333.
I'm sorry, what was that? 4,300?
4,333.
Oh, okay.
The heritage conference is 1,000. The Sustainability Commission is 16,965. The tennis is 2,920. The museum is 45,253. The library is 124,513. That's 124,513. And the Visions for Small School is 15,660. Does anybody need me to go over that again, or any particular numbers?
I just need the tennis again.
The tennis, 2,920.
What was the Visions for Small School again?
15,660.
Was it an extra 1944.30? Is that what?
Sorry, say that
Was
again?
it an extra 1944.30? Is that right?
No, that was, so we're over by 16,391. The museum is 45,253. I'll tell you what.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, hey, we got the technology.
That'll let us. It wasn't working.
Maybe
No, exactly, that's it.
That one's ports, bad ports.
Which is a shame, because it was working this morning. Unless you want me to quickly type it up on a spreadsheet on this laptop.
We've got them.
You do that?
Yeah, we've got them. And we've got to shave off 16.
16,391.
So what's the total revenue number we're working off of now?
That's in our total revenue of, if we put 2% increase, of
Yeah.
3.9, so 3,911,777.
Oh, sorry, I was thinking just the community support.
Oh, sorry, just the community support. The total of the averages is 290,216.
Okay.
Well, what's your revenue figure? I got a different one. So it's
That, if we have a two,
With the percentages.
yes, it's 3911,777.
okay.
So you should come out at 7.42%.
Yeah. And sorry, what is the target spending figure? What does 7% equal?
273,824. 273,824.
So how do we proceed?
Well, sort of figure it out for yourself a minute, and then we'll ask for suggestions about what to cut.
Bump the envelope back up.
Do you want a break and let them figure it out? No? No? I'm just trying to think.
If we could pull that 7,000 rec
That
out,
work?
we could get closer.
Yeah, we can, but then we're,
What's that?
then we're risky.
See, that 7,000 from recreation, that's what throws my numbers off. We're ahead of you.
Yeah.
Do that, though, that. All right, well, does anyone want to make a suggestion? I'm sorry, we were taking out how much? What was our total, our target for takeout?
16,391.
Yep. There we go. We've got that one.
got it.
Yeah?
There we go. Let me just make this so we can see it properly.
I'm short 14.
It wasn't
We
hardware,
could
but
just
that's
take
reasonable.
5.6% off everything, and that would get us within a few dollars.
Yeah, but that's not,
Yeah,
I
no,
think you
that's-
could do
Kinda heavy,
that.
I think.
You,
I mean, I think you have to be careful with that.
well,
Maybe
because,
it's just a kind of
because
guideline
you're
number.
penalizing the small ones
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
As a starting suggestion, I think we've been very generous in showing our support, in particular to the SC and Visions for Small Schools relative to the support they've had in the past. We might take them down a couple of notches from what we've granted them. So the Sustainability Commission has got about 17,000 out of a $21,000 ask. We've knocked a
No,
couple
they
down.
ended up with 15,000.
No,
16,995.
I've managed to get it up on the screen.
Oh. How did I get that?
And Visions for Small Schools went from 0 to 15,660. In both those cases, I think, I'd love to give them more. But if we're looking for those people that not only, have we been a little bit generous with, but wouldn't be disappointed if we gave them a little bit less, I think those are two candidates.
Okay. Okay, so, do you wanna make a suggestion of amount there?
I really think the vision for small schools, $10,000, I think that's making it pretty.
They would be delighted, I think, to get $10,000.
Yeah, and then also I looked at Sustainability Commission, I think we got to $15,000 or $16,000 there. And I was looking at giving them $10,000, that's double what they had last year.
Yeah, well, last year's a bad basis to go
Yeah,
on, because they got
it's not too
massacred.
good.
They got massacred.
But I think it shows we're
But yeah, yeah.
kind of on board.
I'm wondering too, my question would be, does the Sustainability Commission have any other potential funding sources? And, yeah,
Oh,
Yeah,
they've done well in the past
Depending on
with
the project you're
CDT
coming up
and leveraging.
and the other one would be the same provision for small schools. What other,
They probably have less available to them.
They have less, they are not yet a charitable organization, they're not yet tax deductible, but we have good indication that they will soon be, at which point they will be able to call on funds. But their problem is, for instance, they can't go to CDT. CDT will not fund education because that's a provincial responsibility. In the same way that Kathy's reluctant to, shower money on, really the province should be funding that.
Sure.
Right, so a lot of charities, a lot of philanthropic organizations will come back to the same answer with this small school.
right,
In answer to the question on the Sustainability Commission, yeah, they've got lots of people they go to. In fact, their record of leveraging funds in the past has been really impressive. But it suffers, most of the money we're talking about giving them will go to a manager who's gonna help them write grants.
right.
A lot of that is.
So that takes the responsibility away from the city, right? Right?
I think it would.
So,
That's my vision of
Yeah.
them, getting them to be more
Wean them off.
and that gives us our staff back to
Right.
do more staff things. There may be
they're kind of the original
still
mandate.
still some involvement, but we've had Tracy and Cynthia both sitting in the meetings with the Sustainability Commission, and I don't think it's a great use of city resources for that myself. So,
Pay a manager $30 an hour to do that.
that's right. And then you have a person that works after hours for the same rate and goes
Yeah.
and does the thing on Sunday morning at the farmer's market, or, you know what I
Right,
mean, whatever.
yeah,
There's
yeah.
more flexibility to them for the city employees.
Because I voted for $0 to the chamber, I would go after them.
I would as well.
So, I'm
I would
sorry for
have to-
being,
No, I would have to agree.
I'm sorry for being, to the chamber, for being, so cutthroat, but, I just don't see our value for the money that we're investing in that organization, and, if they need to prove their worth to the business community, not to the city. And, they haven't been able to do it. And I think that, I too, did a bit of polling around it and, disappointed to see that they don't have the support that they should have in this community, from the business community. So I have no problem in taking, a good majority of that, away. So we were sitting at 20,821. I take 10 grand off that.
I would too.
Well, that will cost them their manager.
Yeah.
The manager is the main expense.
And so they have no other, source of revenue,
Membership.
Membership.
Well,
Membership's only like 10,000 in total.
It's not, doesn't
Pretty small, yeah.
well, I don't know.
But no, I have to agree. If you look at what they give compared to everybody else for value.
Yeah.
Well, okay, are we killing them softly or just kill them?
That's what I was wondering the same thing, if that takes the manager away, then do we get less value for the remaining money, or is it better just to wipe it clean and say, kinda you're done?
Or, as what happened with the SC, wipe them out and see
Let
if
them
they
build
can
back.
reinvent themselves
Yeah.
as something that
Yeah.
is of value to the community. Maybe if the city isn't giving money, they have a way to creatively, the members themselves creatively come up with some ideas of what they want. Like I heard some of the downtown merchants were saying, we want a downtown merchant association, we don't want a chamber of commerce. And in terms of the benefits the chamber gives them, they can get that from trail in terms of, all that. So, that's something to consider.
The other concern, though, is that their ask went up, but their total output went down.
Exactly.
The other thing, one of the merchants brought to my attention, though, that they've got a new executive, and granted, I think John talked about it, that it seems to be contractor driven right now.
Yeah.
But, if we take about $5,000 out of the small schools, get back to 10, if we take 5,000 out of the, sustainability, we're pretty near there, and we're looking, if you wanna kill the chamber, I guess, Kathy, you put it in the best light. Do you wanna kill it, or do you wanna give them
It is the oldest, organization in town.
John, I hear what you're saying, but, it's the oldest, and I saw how many times they made that mention in the report. That's all great, but I'm sorry, I don't I don't work on history. I work on
No,
what
I don't
potential
either.
is for the future, and I think this organization hasn't shown that they provide value for money. And if I was a retailer, I definitely wouldn't belong. I would say, we need change, we need something different. Maybe I'd be sitting on the board, initiating some of that change, but boy, I just don't see it. And if we didn't have a Tourism Rossland group, that is leveraging so much investment and really making a big difference in the community, and I hear some of the concerns you have about what they're doing, or how they're justifying themselves, and I'd like to see more information too on that front, but I just see, again, value for money, and we're about supporting initiatives in the community, and not about supporting history, and not because I don't want to say the museum isn't in that position. We're also letting them know that we're needing them to be accountable, and so I don't have a problem with saying, come on, Chamber, it's time to buck up and come up with a new strategy.
I made a note there too, and I don't know how we do it in this process, but I was tempted to pull a big chunk out of the chamber and reallocate it to Tourism Rossland. Whether she's adding another half-time person or something to fulfill some of those services that Tourism Rossland doesn't cover.
I was wondering the same thing, because if you look at the major achievements that the Chamber has listed, and there aren't that many, you've got the Canada Day hike, you've got the Rekindle, and you've got the vacation brochure, right? The Canada Day
The
hike.
other thing.
Vacation brochure is important. I think it's probably a product we don't want to lose. Is it something that Tourism Rossland could be doing?
Yeah, and that's what
They
Dan
already
noted.
have
And the Canada Day thing, the museum should be doing.
Yeah.
Right, it's not really a chamber thing at all.
No.
In fact, they wanted to get out of it a couple of years ago.
Well, they
Yeah.
they still won't get out of it.
Still won't.
There is talk with the museum of having
So
museums.
that takes you down to Rekindle and vacation
Well,
brochure.
when I was president of the chamber, we had Mark Daines as the manager, and he busted his ass. He was responsible for getting the blue lights around all the buildings, and he
Right,
was up
yeah.
there in December with his cordless drill doing it. And we were also responsible for bringing Miracle to town, which was more of a fluke. They happened to be, they happened to be looking for somewhere in the Kootenays, and
Okay, let's not go too
So, anyway.
far off. One point I wanted to make is, just looking at it, it looks like 80% of the revenue for the chamber goes to wages and administration versus 27% of Tourism Rossland. So, that's another metric to look at.
Just sustaining itself, not
Can
really.
I like Lloyd's idea that, you take Richards for Small Schools down to 10,000. You take some off Sustainability Commission, maybe put it at 15. And you've got, what have you got left? You've got about 10,000 left
We're looking for
to shave off.
$6,000.
No, you've got about 8 more to take off somewhere.
What?
But if we agree that those numbers are decent, then at least focuses us on exactly how much we need to take off from places.
Mhm.
Well, for chamber, I'd be happy to cut out that full 20,000 for the tourism book as a duplication, and then that drops it down by another 3,800.
We can get a little tiny small bit back because we didn't actually use all the money in that miscellaneous grant. Wasn't it like 1,200, Lois? I think it was something, we had 1,800 to get a few back there.
In 2014, we spent 1,000. Yeah. That, yeah, that's not gonna move that out, that
No,
will
it's not
save
gonna move much.
1,000, yeah.
So, as a question on the rec grant, what's the season for that? When does the current rec grant season end and the new season start?
Tracy?
It's a yearly grant.
So is it on
It's
January
our
1st though?
fiscal year,
So
January
it's
1st
technically
to
over
December
right now,
31st.
it's not happening?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Until we actually have money in the budget for 2015.
Yeah, okay.
There is no grant.
So that's May 15th.
Pardon?
Yeah,
It's May 15th,
yeah, people can put applications in still late,
Whenever
but,
they want.
but there's not gonna be any money available
until the bylaws pass, yes.
Okay.
But it's a similar sort.
I still want, if I can, and I'm gonna log it a little bit more, but I want us to really seriously consider, investing in tourism and business community. And when I look at both those organizations, Tourism Rossland and Chamber of Commerce, and the kind of money we're spending on both of them, wouldn't it make a lot more sense to concentrate on one, and the one's proving to be successful. And very little, I would hazard to guess that Tourism Roslin doesn't have to do much to add, and easily compensate for what the Chamber's doing.
That would be a conversation we'd have to have with that board, though, to see
And I
if they're
recognize
willing
that.
to take on those
And,
jobs.
and I recognize that, but at this point, for us, so where do we, you know, what do we do? Like, you know, it's a mandate, like, we're a major funding source for both of them, certainly for the Chamber.
Could we tell the chamber that we're looking seriously at what they do and come and make a presentation to tell us why they need this money?
We're supposed to convince us in their application process.
That was the whole idea of the application.
We're not gonna retract and
Yeah.
do it again.
Yeah.
We're not gonna beg them to prove their value.
Yeah, 'cause the application didn't really just tell a very compelling story. It didn't tell how they're gonna get more members or what new revenue they're gonna do or.
And I just looked at the list of directors.
Yeah.
It doesn't look, and I know some of them are also on Tourism Roslin. So there's redundancy in people as well.
Okay, well, so do we have a recommendation about the chamber?
I'd recommend that we cut their funding to zero.
Okay, we have a seconder for
That
that?
would give us some extra to split around.
Yeah,
I'll second it for discussion.
okay, second for discussion, do more discussion. Aaron?
I think that's severe. I mean,
Yeah.
it's unexpected, right? So some of these other, grant recipients, we said, you're on notice. We're gonna give you a year to shape up, and to come up to these expectations.
Mhm.
We've never actually said anything like that to the chamber, so to cut them to zero at this point, I think is too arbitrary, too mean. I mean, I'm the first one to say that their achievements do not stack up to the dollar value, right? But I don't think it's fair to cut them to zero, without any warning.
Do we have any say on their mandate work plan being the biggest funder? When we say, like, we particularly want you to work on this, this, this? Or is it really they're independent once we give them money?
No, they're just asking, but they come to us and say what they're gonna do with the money, and we give them the money, and they do it, and then they're supposed to come back to us and tell us how they did with the money, right?
So my thinking
But
would
we
fit
don't
in-
actually direct them.
So I think it would fit in with Aaron a bit and say, let's cut them down significantly, but then also, here's a list of things that we really wanna see for next year, let's keep going.
The problem with that, if we cut them down significantly, and then we've cut the legs out of them and they can't afford
Right.
the manager,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's almost like you either fund them or you don't fund them, but if you kinda
Yeah.
just starve them, it's hard, Lloyd.
Well, I just cut them significantly to 16,000. To answer Andrew, I think when you cut them that significantly, they're gonna come to council as a delegation and say, look, you know, you really made a significant cut. And they're gonna try to plead their case, or maybe at that would be an opportunity to say, well, maybe we see your mandate as concentrating more on economic development in the town. And leave some of these other items that you mentioned to tourism officers. But I think we'll be forced to give some explanations, but I think 16,000.
Okay, let's see.
That's taking $4,800 away from it.
So where does that, if we put it, so I just put that in and see what that looks like? We still need more.
Put that to 16 and schools to 8, that's getting, we still need another,
No, I thought
8.
the schools was 10, that's 5.
Ten.
Sorry, schools to 10 and
10.
chambers.
Wait, we were talking about, what did we take SC down to?
15,
15.
It's just $2,000 in there.
and BSS to 10. That was
Right.
the debate.
So that leaves us
I think
$4,000
that's pretty
short
close,
still
yeah.
of our target. Which is good, that's close.
That's getting close.
And we may have the rec grant money, fingers crossed, possibly before May, which would put us in a really good spot.
Yeah. Well, again, I'll make my argument about Tourism Roslin, fixing with their own success. We could take them down to 20,000. I mean, they are very, very good at getting money.
Good. I mean, we've already given them less than their ask, and it breaks my heart to do that, because they have been so disciplined about not asking for more for so many years.
Right.
Right? In fact, they've asked for less over the course of
Right.
the year. I would hate to punish that by saying, we're not even gonna give you your reduced ask. for me, I'm not even happy about giving them 23,334 that we agreed to here after they asked for 25.
Yeah.
They've
No,
just
I'm
done
not happy
such
about
an
cutting,
outstanding-
about
No, I
cutting a
don't-
lot of these people, right? It's
Yeah.
just, if we're kind of,
But there are some people we're increasing funding to, right? It's not across the board.
well, we're increasing some who we didn't give funding to before, right? But we're pretty much going down, some of them, the little ones we're leaving flat, except Fairware, we're chopping a little bit. We're going down. Leaving our rec grant thing, saying, yeah, I mean, if we make a deal with the rec, that could save us $7,000. Or we could just leave it at this point for now and see where we go. Tracy?
Where would we be now? Then what's?
7.1%.
Well,
7.1, right?
Yeah, 7.1.
7.1.
So just shy of $4,000
I mean,
over.
seriously, we're like, this is brutal on just about everybody.
Yep.
Yeah.
A question on the budgeting side, so this is assuming a 2% increase. What if through this process we end up deciding to probably do something quite a bit higher, and we still have our envelope at 7? Does that boost all these guys way back up?
We'll use that money for infrastructure.
Yeah.
But if we're
We'll
doing
do
it on
the-
an envelope percentage,
We'll do the
right, and our
seesaw
tax
trick we
rate-
use for mill rate and tax receipts.
Mhm.
So if we increase the taxes, we'll decrease our percentage target.
We'll decrease our envelope if we
Yeah,
increase our
I think when we set these numbers, we're gonna stay within, our goal is to do the 7% thing,
Mhm.
right? For
Mhm.
this year, this is what it's looking like. I think that's how we have to go, we can't keep going.
I'm saying, that's what I'm saying,
Yeah.
if we stick with the 7% envelope, we'll almost for sure likely have more than a 2% tax increase, so the value of
Yeah.
that 10% is quite a bit higher. Possibly.
Well, I mean.
Yeah, but I don't think we're gonna do it that way.
We do have a motion on the floor.
Yes, what is our motion on this one?
The Chamber of Commerce be reduced to 0.
I don't know why that's a motion. I mean, all these other things we're discussing didn't need a motion.
You asked for a motion.
Yeah, I did, I asked for a motion just because it was so radical, but who made it?
I made it,
Yeah.
and then
We can just withdraw it for now, because we're just having
It's
it.
just a recommendation.
It's a recommendation.
Yeah, yeah.
Council.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the recommendation. So, somebody was gonna say something. Aaron? you were
No,
saying
not me.
something? Okay, so, all right, I mean, we have our target of 7%. At this point, we've missed it
well,
by a fraction.
let's
So we
get
can
there.
we can keep charging ahead on this, or we can just say, hey, we're doing a great job by getting it down to 7.1 and leave it for now, and see where we go.
How optimistic are we on the recreation?
We have no idea. We have no idea. We've just had conversations with
If we were to eliminate that
Trail, we
$7,000,
want to do something.
if we were to eliminate the $7,000, and in 2015, I think their cutoff date is September 1st, and if nothing happened in that regard, could we not introduce a subsidy program again?
We could amend our budget, but meanwhile, we've already, I mean, when we make our budget, right, then we set our tax rates and then,
Yeah, I know.
you know, all of that.
Lloyd, did you say the 7,000 was oversubscribed
Well, that's
Oh,
what I
yes.
thought, but no.
last year?
The people that have got funding, that have paid this year, they're getting paid. They had to have applied before September 1st. So, beginning 2015, anybody went down now and bought a pass and submitted their invoice, they'd be able, if we approve the $7,000.
Well, not anybody, it's seniors
Well,
and children,
anybody
anybody who
that
qualifies, yeah.
reaches the mandate,
Yeah,
yeah.
but we did, it was oversubscribed last time,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
help me, there was Stingrays came back with a big chunk of money, because the reason it was at $20,000 and it went down because the Stingrays neglected to apply for either 1 or 2 years just because of the transition of their executive and blah, blah, blah. Council didn't know that, we just said, oh, nobody's using this fund, so whack, we're sitting at one of these conversations saying, where can we
Okay,
save money?
okay, all
Let's
right.
chop that one, right, so we don't have to chop the tennis courts, right? So, wasn't picking on the tennis courts, but, so,
Just happened to be there.
so, yeah, so there are way more people who wanted to
Okay,
use it.
okay.
7,000 does
Good.
not cover it
Yeah,
anywhere
No, it
near.
doesn't.
All right.
Okay, all right. So, we're still looking for some additional cuts. And right now, we have the chamber at 16,000.
I'm thinking take 1 or 2,000 off the museum, just because of the skepticism I expressed about them before. maybe take another 1,000 off the SC and small schools, and that gives you 4,000.
Okay, so,
So that would be 9,000 to VSS, that would be, 14,000 to the Sustainability Commission, and that would be 43,253 to the museum. 43, so 2,000 off the museum.
Oh, 2,000, okay, yeah.
43, what?
253.
253. That gets us to 70%, 7%.
Yep.
Okay,
But, just suggestion.
okay, it's a suggestion, now we have the suggestion.
The other area I think to look next is possibly in the library, just because it's the biggest one, that taking some out of there is the littlest impact to them.
Right.
And I think with their project, they're also in pretty good shape to leverage those funds with the, various reports and things we've seen. Looks really
Okay,
good.
so right now, with Aaron's suggestion, we're at our 7%. Do you wanna shift something around, give back to somebody we just took something from and take some out
Give
of
it
the
back to
line?
VSS.
I was gonna say VSS and SC bump, I think you took those ones down each 1,000?
Yes.
Maybe put those two ones back up to 1,000 and pull the 2,000 out of the library, and then.
Work that.
Yeah.
Okay. so-
Library will go down to 122.
So library is now 122,513.
Does that reflect correctly in,
Mhm.
on here? So that's the average that everybody has. These are the reductions that we're taking out in this column, which gets us to our revised total.
Yeah, I think you got that right. So it's,
That's the revised
yes,
total
I
there.
got the same.
Okay, so we're still at our 7%. How's our horse trading going? Everybody happy? Anybody unhappy?
So I think it's still short $2,000, right?
No, I get that 7,000, 7%.
Hmm.
You got- Oh, you took 2 off the museum. Okay,
Sorry, that was a suggestion at one point,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
take
yeah.
it back out.
right, yes, right. Sorry, so yeah.
Okay,
That's our target.
That's our target. Does someone want to make a recommendation that these as shown on the screen will be our community grants for this year?
So, recommended.
Okay,
Second.
Aaron,
Yeah.
Andrew, any further discussion?
I'm happy.
This is the not fun part, guys, so we
Yeah,
have to.
yeah.
Okay, all right, no further discussion, I'll call the vote, all in favor? Okay, any opposed? No, okay. Recommendation has been made, yes.
I suggest we break for pizza,
Yes.
waiting.
Do you want to just do operational support though, just
I'll
in
second
terms
that,
of
yeah.
the Golden City Days and the Winter
Yeah,
Carnival,
easy.
and then that kind of is a clean cut off there?
Okay.
Okay. There we go. So that concludes the grants. So then on here then, do you want to just cover in terms of the Golden City Days and the Winter Carnival, and everything else I will take out of here and move into Public Works budget, so
Mhm.
they'll be covered in the next meeting?
Because there isn't anything there that goes to a group, it's just operations stuff. It's now Darren. Okay?
Yep. so-
Okay, so, Golden City Days,
That went down, and Winter Carnival went down, so I said, fine. We're heading in the right direction.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, I was fine with both.
Me too. Anybody have any discussion about any of those?
Do we want to set any kind of envelope for this too, or just work the numbers as they are, because it's a pretty small percentage anyway?
Yeah, it's 1% for sure. I think we already sent a letter to Winter Carnival asking them to control their
Yeah.
costs,
Yep.
particularly on the rail jam, right? So I think they're on notice that we're not gonna put endless money in there, so. Okay, so do I have a recommendation about these two?
One thing about that,
Yeah.
if I remember the presentation correctly, the guy from the Chamber from the Winter Carnival, they said they thought they could do it for considerably less. We ended up giving them considerably more money than they thought they needed. I don't know, I just
Right.
remember that. So I just, we were being overly generous that night. I don't know exactly why. Everybody must have
Well, the guy that said they could do it for considerably less was talking just about the rail jam.
Yeah.
But that was a map,
That was
a
like
huge
9,000,
amount.
yeah.
But we gave it to him as a contingency, right? We gave it to him as.
Yeah, this year.
9,500, the balance was a 5,000 contingency.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so-
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
But-
there is some control on it, right?
We gave
Yeah.
more than was than was in the budget last year, but we gave considerably less to what they spent last year.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
we
Yes,
did.
that was
Yeah.
the difference.
There.
With the discussions that we've had with the committee, especially on the rail jam, if it works out to the plan that we have, I think the cost will be substantially reduced.
Okay.
So, and Big Red Cats is bringing down a snow cap, which is going to help a huge amount for cost.
Great.
So if it all turns out, the volunteers that they hopefully got lined up, I think we'll reduce that by a lot.
Okay. I wonder if we want, because we did say 9,500 with a $5,000 contingency was what we said, right? That just says a straight 14.5. I don't know if we should reflect that in the budget, because then I don't want the Winter Carnival Organizing Committee to say, oh, we've got 14.5, here we go, and look, Rail Jam's really cheap, so we use it everywhere else.
They won't know those costs. That's
Okay.
more under Public Works control, right?
Okay.
Especially the larger costs.
Okay.
And they've already got, like, for the ice bar, got Bob LaFace, to donate time. So I think,
Okay. Good,
but we'll know in 2 weeks
right.
what the costs come in at.
Right?
Yeah. Yep.
With low snow, we could be in trouble. Okay, that's great. So do we have a resolution about these two items?
Yeah, I think it's been moved.
Yeah, who moved it? Somebody move it? I know I asked for it.
Yeah, I didn't.
Okay, Lloyd will move that we keep the two items as listed there for those events. And a second,
Seconded.
Aaron seconds. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Anybody opposed? Nobody opposed? Okay, now we can take a little break. Thank you, guys.
Good work.
You wanna get something to do it before pizza?
Yeah, the pizza incentive is good. Can we use that in that ransom process next year? We can award you money, or we could award you pizza. Or give you $20,000 of pizza. Paintings look great in here, Kathy. Well done, setting that up.
Isn't it fun?
Yeah.
Did the press notice? The press notice. Good.
Although I'm still curious to learn wasn't the one over there that was like Kootenai militia or something? I was reading that last meeting. I was really curious to find out who they were.
Yeah, it's right here. Oh, they're all right here. Yeah, and they can go somewhere else. Tracy gets to hang them somewhere else. Right, Trace? What's that? The pictures, the things that I took down the walls off here, they can go anywhere you want in City Hall. Well, I like that one. Good thought.
Great.
Well, the timing, like every meeting,
I mean, mine are all, I mean,
Not now,
other ones.
because now we're changing them to public works, so they're upgrading something in our building.
All of, mine are all projects.
And we have that today? Yeah, it doesn't matter, I just, put that out.
I never seen it, so.
I'm so positive they put it in, because,
I know you talked about it.
no, they put one in.
Recreation.
Don't put me up.
Liquor license,
Yeah, I know.
that would be very difficult to get, won't it? I mean, it was very unique when we
Well,
did it before, because it was only the bar itself. Because if you spend it, then you can have children.
Yeah, so what are you looking at?
Well, I'm looking at a wish list from the recreation department.
Spearheading
Oh.
the whole
Bring
minor
back
call,
the liquor license,
including
cover the activities in
city
town.
park into it.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Because when Ron came in,
No.
Ron
We're
wanted
working
to
on
get
the
rid
feet
of it because of
from
the
all the
liability. He
feet.
couldn't believe that we, the city, had a liquor license in our name.
But it was very unique, it was dealt with the perspective, and it was just the bar area.
That's right.
And if we expanded, we didn't have anybody. So
It's still unique for the curling rink, they're lucky that, you know, you can still have kids up there, which is still, they don't offer those anymore.
And, the other one.
Oh, yeah, I do know.
Stove covered
Yeah,
dishes, et
little
cetera.
park.
Yeah.
Big park. Yeah.
Well, it's got a little,
What if you have that, you would use that?
over those little things.
Remember one time I put a pool table up there, coffee seniors would go have coffee and shoot a little pool.
I'm afraid that.
I mean, Joey always used to go low
I had a great
Wow. I remember the table you told me down there, by the bathroom.
That has happened,
Yeah.
not here. I remember.
The reason why-
As I was approaching it, and the right six feet down.
Jubilee Park,
Careful to
that's
walk
how,
either, right,
we
listen to the whole
closed the one from the other.
outside of the bicycle.
At Jubilee Park, we used to have washrooms there, and remember the block building? They still there?
I hate that place, because my colleagues told that falling apart.
There was.
Right.
There isn't anymore. How long ago was
Well,
that?
the city.
They weren't there when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Because they're all
Remember when I was in council?
Or are you talking,
Academy.
I'm talking Jubilee, the high school.
you know, private
Jubilee
ownership
Park.
property
Yeah.
over the
Over
city.
where the
They
scout
should
hall,
be
remember we moved?
The city
Moved
kept
the
it
scout hall out there and put it in a portable. We had,
If there's washrooms there,
the only thing that was the scout hall.
So,
Was there a point about the minor hall too?
yes.
Oh,
Is
so
this
we'll send the
because of the
half-hours and
balcony?
Sunday.
Putting a balcony that would sort of overhang the
That-
entry area. And I'm thinking if that balcony sprouted icicles like those.
Was it in the agenda package, do you know?
Well, this is something we discussed at
I don't
great
know.
It's
length
alright, I'll have a look.
for the drainage and in the front facade, there could be some certain overhangs that may address that. But that is a good thing, and if anything goes under that plan,
the block
it would
washrooms
be that.
at Jubilee
Yeah.
Park. Is it
That
still
is
there?
Yeah.
The building's still
kind
there.
of a dream to have that, but
Yeah.
it's not like the first thing that's happening.
Yeah.
Made
You
your
know.
job, were they ever
But
connected
I
to
will
the sewage line?
mention that because it has been discussed a lot, and I have seen things go wrong, particularly in the drainage in the city.
Yeah.
And they're really deteriorating.
For different
I mean, the inside?
Yeah, the outside ones, but they're just
right out
walking.
there, by the sidewalk, by the road, by everything,
Yeah.
you know.
The one in Rotary Park.
The maintenance being you have to lock them up
Really, the only
and
reason.
only open when you have events.
Because there was one there originally.
Open them
Right.
for soccer
I
games.
guess if it's.
Or you got like
there,
Trail does where
some
they,
use for it.
they're on timers,
I mean, I'm sure it would be
they
built.
pull the sensors where they, after
Right, but,
8 o'clock at night, it's
now,
automatically locked.
it's not meant to,
Then they automatically open up.
a good portion
But
of.
could we accomplish it by giving the users a passkey for it, have it
Yeah.
keyed differently?
You know,
The users
it could
would
just
open it
turn it
and
into,
lock it
we
when
do
they're
need
finished.
something
Say the
in
soccer
there
It's
Yeah.
to supply
I just use the
ventilation,
back
because
of
we
Kennedy Park
can't
with the
do it
ball.
in this part,
You know, unless you got somebody
you know,
that's.
that's gonna stay, that's the big roof, we're not
So what do you do there?
start
Do you
putting
lock those
dormers
at night?
in, or, you
That
know.
would not be historically accurate anyway.
No, but it's
And
much
they constantly get left
to do
open.
something
You
like
go down
that
there and
while
the
you're
water's
doing
running,
a
you know, the
major,
toilet's
Yeah.
broken.
um,
Same usual.
and I don't think
Well,
we
then you take the key away from
do skylight.
Yeah, the doors get
But
damaged,
it would be nice to have more light
Look at
in
this.
there, but
license in Centennial Park.
I know these light tunnels are not historically, but
We gotta
if you look at.
Oh, half a million dollars to
No,
throw
those,
away.
not the ones that come down from up above.
You get to a 4% recovery on a park now, when you spend that kind of money.
Natural light.
Well, our recovery from our parks are gonna go down too, because now we're adding, you know, and rightfully so, the library, the museum, we're considering, you know, those
Oh,
parks too.
That's sure, a friend of mine
Who
was
did
doing
that,
one in their house and then
Working.
and they
decided
can
to
go like
right.
that and
Sure.
then.
They can curve, yeah, I'm
wall
not
with
sure
that.
what they.
Oh,
we did
okay,
curving
so-
requirements are, but
Good
you can
job.
look into
Mhm.
the way.
Turned out good.
Like,
I'll
It was-
I'll
I went
mention
by there,
that.
I
it was
thought,
for
oh,
sure
that's
sitting
always
on
on the
artificial
wall
light
there.
during daylight
Okay, that's what
It
we're
was
saying.
always
Yeah.
the best,
It's
No,
gonna be,
it,
yeah.
we are trying
but
to
it's really nice now.
Yeah.
address that.
And I like what they did with the bank about the wall.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah, good. Well, we're hoping from left field, you know,
I
for
do
7 feet
have
over,
one here.
that we're able to make that a slope that, and
I know,
we turn that,
and
we
we'll
put
have
360
one
heads on, so it's gonna water
combined.
that section.
I
We'll be able to mow it
something
too.
last night.
It was
I
that
can't
right field that
remember what
was just,
it was.
Oh, boy.
Just having a glass of
A
wine.
glass.
Mentioned something that had not come up.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, see, this is how it, no, I did put it all together in an email.
Yeah.
Honest, I did, but I just, you end up with no's because people say, well, what about that? You can't make it to the meeting, or the tours, or,
Yeah.
right. But all I really wanted to hear, the recreation. I'm not sure whether it works, but the actual facilities is what I wanna hear. Like the cost of them compared to
You mean the cost to the city of maintaining the facility?
the operating part.
Yeah.
I mean, the capital's gotta be so set,
Yeah.
but the operating part really
Oh, the
interests me.
operating support here for,
Well, this is
for those facilities.
support.
Well, it's operating support, it's maintaining them.
Yeah, but,
Keeping them
but
up.
what I'm talking about is the public works operating, like how
That's what
much
it
it
is.
costs to,
I think that's what that is. Seriously. That's my interpretation. That's
no,
my-
but I mean, where's the arena? Where's the one I'm
Oh, the
interested
recreational
in?
one.
The one
Oh,
I'm
well, that's
interested in
now.
is,
Oh, yeah, that comes a bit later.
yeah,
Yeah.
but when is that can be?
I think next, but I'm not sure. But I've got it next in my notes.
Yes,
because
because
that's
that's
where it was
great
in the,
when I have
the
to
agenda.
Yes, I know. Well, that's been fun.
You'll have to do things like the, councilors are doing here, you'll have to prioritize.
Well,
Figure
they
out
are
which is most
gonna
important.
send out the thing, but this stuff, I mean, I can't even get it. There's so much more I need to understand. That's why I like to go to these meetings, because somebody
Especially
is
when
now.
Lois is explaining things.
Yeah, and
Karen.
these people are asking good questions
Mhm.
now,
Yep.
whereas that has never happened before. Being loud. I mean, they, for 100 years, they've been operating just the same. Nothing creative, nothing. It's like,
I wonder where Martin is.
well, I'm curious about that too. I know his son was going back to Australia today,
Okay.
but I don't know.
I didn't even know he had a son.
Wonderful son.
Really?
He's studying to be a doctor in Australia. And,
Actually, you may have mentioned that. I think
Yeah.
he did mention that to me,
Yeah.
and I just wrote in one ear and out the other.
Right. No, I've known his son since
He was little.
born.
Mhm.
He's a doll. He really is.
How old is he?
He's like,
What do you know?
mid-20s something. He's had another few years to get totally through medical school, you know, he's 5 years into the whole thing.
Why did you decide to do it in Australia?
I've lost track. I don't know how this all happened.
Call and I wanna make sure everybody's coming to our meeting. Or I'm not going. Yeah, this is just what I'm interested. After review, not important. And I don't know what they're going to try to
Some of
accomplish.
the numbers on here she didn't found quite right. Not on this one, but they, it's nice to have the K under, so you know it's 99,000 instead of 89,000.
Yeah. And that's a lot. You know, I'm wondering what the students get this summer. Because the parts I've seen, they pay like a full wage, full benefits guy, which is worth, you know, 55,
I'm
50 bucks an
sure
hour.
that the unions don't allow them to set students to doing things that would take a job away from a union person.
No, the students used to always do the lawn mowing. Like they just ride around on the mower, and at least the parks by me, they have a full-on person. I wonder, what are the students doing? Like I know they were doing some of the downtown cleanup.
Yeah.
But if they're doing painting and stuff, surely the full pay cash should do that. Some silly thing. Tracy?
Yes.
Can I take this? I'm gonna have to go to another meeting and come
Yeah,
back.
there's nobody else here, I don't see why not.
Nobody else.
You don't need it, Sarah?
Wants
I've
to-
got it on my computer. I think it's all there.
Oh.
I mean, there's 301 pages on my computer, that's probably, yeah, 339 pages. I've got them all.
Well, I try to return stuff or direct it to people
Who need it.
if they can use it. And I actually read the stuff, and a bunch of it, I go, no, I don't need this, there ain't what I can go over.
Yeah, I tried to read it before I get here, but I didn't, I did not read the application.
But they've been printing all the numbers ones, really, really tiny, like that could be blown up. And I didn't get a chance to ask them before they did it. This. Well, let's see what picture we put in. Oh, that's Kelly.
What
See,
is
we
that?
fill the cracks on the tennis courts. We've been
Oh,
doing
yeah.
those on our hands and knees,
Oh.
literally. Well, not me. Oh, yeah, I did Alpha Day. I did paint other years, but. All right. Yeah. Are the furnaces in the miners' hall, are those separate?
Yep.
Like, what heats what? Like, there are
There's a
two
furnace
now,
for, there's two of them. There's a furnace for the idles room, and then there's a furnace for the main hall.
Okay, so the room I load's in, so
Mhm.
that's heating the pottery
Yep.
and the
bathrooms.
bathrooms
Yep.
and, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and then off of the furnace that heats that room, there's also a duct down in the basement too. You know,
Oh,
keep it
so that's
fresh.
just free or
Just keeps
whatever.
it.
Okay. And is there any way to address, like having to turn the water on when it gets really, really cold in the
Is the
kitchen?
pizza still salty enough to tickle your
not
brain?
No,
No,
okay.
it's because, you know, there's that draft in the walls where the water line comes in from the street. You know, so if you don't keep that water running, then we have, you know, it's frozen before and it, you know, it split the line in the bathroom and, yeah.
So it would have to be dug out and put down somewhere. Oh, okay, not just plumbing in the wall.
No.
Nothing that,
No, it's never that easy.
No, of course not. I mean, is it something that could be addressed if, when the plaza's done? If
That's
we
when
come
the
to
time
that?
would be, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so when that, you know, when that's torn up there in the
Yeah.
front,
Oh,
that's
okay,
the time
so
that we
it
could
could
deal with the water.
Okay. And is there another water tank
Exactly, through and through.
besides the one that's in the
In the
janitor's closet?
Yes. There it is. Go use that.
I mean, I don't think I've ever seen one, but I haven't been
No, there isn't.
Okay. Okay,
No, there isn't.
okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Strange, isn't it? Seems that one small tank, but yeah.
You're always
I
welcome.
People are watching their
Really?
hands.
I didn't want to call you guys.
I'm not the
Hundreds
husband
of
stuff
people
anymore.
No,
all at
exactly.
once,
Oh,
or
yeah.
maybe
Every now and
cooking
then.
or
Okay.
whatever.
Yeah.
So Sarah, I hope your article will reflect our angst over having to cut these things. And
Well, maybe, I think I did.
You've already taken them?
That we're just dying
Oh, yeah.
inside, having to make these cuts.
You know what,
Our
I'll
skulls
keep
are
mine
crumbling.
for-
And I probably won't put in the numbers.
Your
Yeah.
reputation.
Depends on what I can get out of
Yeah.
here.
Well, you
Yeah,
know, we'll
because
be
it's
beating
not
up in the
right.
fur through the lineup.
Oh, jeez. I have to lock myself in the house and never come out again.
We're stopping at 8:30 on like a Thursday or Friday night. It's
Yeah.
the best time.
Don't get there anytime around 4 to 6-ish, unless you want to talk to everyone in town.
It would be good to have.
Not a good time.
Can you do grocery delivery right into my house?
Yeah, no, that's good. I was just thinking, am I gonna have to figure out where the numbers are different here? No.
No, they're
And I
exactly
find
the same.
that
That's
country
new,
city way
which
better
I
now
will
than
put
sitting
on
on
the
the
list.
companies.
Yeah. Or you just start talking Spanish or something as soon as you get on the list.
Ooh, you got the glasses.
Yeah.
Quick, well, thanks.
You can follow.
Oh, thank you. Do you have some binoculars?
Follow along with
I think, yeah,
Yeah, where's
the
the
second
magnifying?
page is more what you're doing. Sorry, it's a bit small.
Consider that standing.
Perhaps we should put in a budget some magnifying glasses for the spreadsheets I print off.
I like to make sure everything is pretty. It's more important for you guys to energize than page 10.
Yeah, that's kind of silly.
Okay, I'll explain what I've given to you just in a second. So just to kind of remind everybody in terms of where we're up to, so that's the community support done. We're now moving on to recreation. So these are the areas that we're going to cover in detail. So we've got the arena, the curling ring, the skating ring, the recreation administration, the events and programming, park, school and miners hall. All those numbers there are after our cost recovery. So this is our direct cost to the City of Rossland. And it also excludes capital upgrades. So we're just purely looking at operational. So what I've given to you, 2 sheets are, the one with the small numbers on, that was in the package. Basically the first sheet is just kind of a summary of the history, and then the second page kind of goes into the detail of every section, which I'm going to refer to this one in a minute. The other sheet where it's got Arena 2014, this is a new sheet, and this is what Recreation have produced for me in terms of, just to give us some idea in terms of the programs and events that are run, and the user numbers and the revenue that's associated with that. So one thing I want to point out first is Recreation use a different software from our accounting software, and it proves quite many challenges in terms of how it basically works is, say you've got two people, so say Tracy takes the bookings, she records the sales that the sales date it relates to, and that stays with her. What happens is when people actually come and pay, the money comes across to finance and we record it there. So for example, if you've got events in the arena and they're all booked in December, if they don't pay till January, the sale is recorded in the recreation software, but it doesn't reflect in the accounting software until much later. So the headache between the software that they have and then VADM, you can have vastly different numbers and it is really difficult to reconcile. So the 2014 numbers are still, even though the year is complete, they're still very much moving because people are still potentially paying for events in 2014. So the numbers that Recreation have given us here, this is a good guide, but I've not been able to verify any of these numbers. And hence, when I come to do the 2015 budget, it's not as kind of crisp but clean as I would like it in terms of the revenue side. The cost side is much easier because that's all within VADM, it all runs great. But in terms of, there will be elements where you're looking at one number on one sheet and another number that I've got, there will be an element of it moving around. So it is very much a bit like, you know, finger in the air of putting the revenue in there. So that's just the difficulty with the software, and it just creates many issues in terms of trying to nail down exactly user groups and numbers. So this is just kind of a guidance, it gives you an idea. So how I was going to do this, so that's kind of the user numbers. How I wanted to do this, for each area I wanted to go through in terms of the 2015 budget, go through exactly what our revenue is and what our costs are. So I then refer to the other sheet that I gave out with all the numbers. So if we could go to this page 2. So this is a bit of a lesson in 101 in terms of understanding the budget documents as well. So I'm not going to do this in much detail with all of them, but I will do it with the arena just so everybody can kind of flow through the information. So on page 1, if you look at the 2015 column, the very first bit of information is our revenue. So you can see the history and you can see what our budget is. So I've tried to summarise it and make the information easy on the presentation. So you'll see I've got here adult hockey of 35,000. The very first line for 2015 is 35,000. That is a match up to that. If you go down a few lines on the spreadsheet, on the sheet, you'll see we've got mine hockey. That's 30,000, which reflects the second line there. Okay, so I'm not going to go through them all, but is everybody kind of generally happy in terms of that there equals, I did actually miss one line off. No, I've actually put it on. Those numbers there equal 83,000, and if you see the recreation centre revenue, it equals 83,501. Does everybody follow that? Okay, so I've simplified the information on there. This is very much the detail of it. Okay, so just a bit of a lesson there. So if we take the arena for 2015, we're projecting at this moment in time that our revenue will be 83,000. Okay. If we then start looking at in terms of what our expenditure is, ignoring capital expenses, again, the next part on this spreadsheet is the detail of the expenses, and I've just summarised it on the sheet in a bit more detail. So our expense of the arena broken down is 10% of the manager of public works. We've got the public works guys working 1,600 hours. We have 2 casual guys who work in the winter. They're for 47,000. The arena sometimes incurs overtime, so we've got 3,000 there. And hence we've got students, and then we've got the casual ladies who do the concessions and the front desk, is it downstairs?
Yeah,
Yep.
the ticket desk, yeah.
The ticket desk, yeah. And then we have a relevant associated training cost with running the arena.
Lois?
Yeah?
10% manager of public works. That is just a book to assign part of his salary there.
Yeah, so what that reflects is, if you take the manager of public works, his salary, all the benefits, if you take 10%, that's what is reflected. Okay?
Yep.
So I've done the wages as accurately as I can in terms of everybody's hours, how much we expect, gone through everybody's benefits to get to a total cost for that person. So it's kind of, I could not get that more accurate. I've actually done it on individuals, and something I've assumed on the wages is that when the union negotiations finishes at the end of February, I have assumed a 2% increase for the union staff. So that's an assumption I've made for now. I can change that. I've no problem with that.
Those hours reflect year-round operation?
Yes.
So I recognize that there's maintenance in the summer maintenance and such on the facility, so those also are reflected there. That get prepared and then, yeah.
Yep, so if you take the arena, it's open for 25 weeks, 7 days a week. On each day we have 2 members of staff work 8 hours each day, so that's 16 hours a day. That gets you to 2,800 hours. That leaves 293 hours for summer hours for the public works. So that's the public works and the casual staff together. Again, I'm going to cover this more in the next meeting, but just to give you an idea, because next meeting is public works, just to give you an idea, what I've done is I've taken all the public works guys, I've taken how many hours they're available to work, I've taken off their statutory days, I've taken off their vacation days, I've taken off an element of what we think is sick to actually get what their number of workable hours are for the public hours guys. I've gone through the entire budget and kind of looked at the history of how many hours each area needs and taken the number of hours for each area times by the loaded rate, which is the average of everybody, to come out to the total number of hours. I've left a certain, I think like 1,200 hours for capital expenditure, which is kind of average from previous years. So when we're looking at in terms of number of wages, I've done it as kind of accurate as I can.
What's the benefit percentage that you use for loading?
I don't use a percentage.
Oh.
I actually go through everybody's benefits and actually look at how much it's costing for each individual.
Oh, okay.
So I couldn't tell you. Yep, exactly. So I couldn't tell you what percentages off the top of my head, but I've actually looked at everybody how much it's costing us for that person.
Okay. I'd like to see those sheets for council.
Yep, I'm definitely going to give those sheets. I was thinking of giving them, well, this was a kind of debate in my head I was thinking, because we're doing public works in the next meeting.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, well, it would be relevant to bring public works, but it would also be good to look at everybody. So do I bring it all at once, or do I piecemeal it in terms of bring all at once? That's fine.
You probably have it on one spreadsheet, right?
Yeah, it's probably one spreadsheet. It's all there. It summarises everybody. So what I'll do is I'll include the agenda for next meeting, but we may just pick out the relevant individuals for that meeting, and then when we come to looking at the general government, that will include other people who will be on there who won't relate to public works.
Right, okay, sounds good.
Okay. For example, I will be on there, but I don't relate to public works.
That's right.
So the total cost for the wages there is 152,000. So that's just the wages. If you then look at the other elements that it costs us to run the arena, so we have 14,000 for the city equipment. So every time we use a vehicle on a particular job, we have an internal charge out rate. So it's just basically if a vehicle is being used in the parks get charged a rate, so we're kind of recovering the cost of actually using a vehicle. So most of the city equipment there is actually for the Zamboni. And again, for the Zamboni, I went through and I looked I think we used it for 2 hours every day through the 25 weeks. So I've gone through and kind of made sure that adds up. So again, it's pretty self-explanatory what everything is on there. The only thing I thought I would add to, just to kind of give it some context, in the contract services, there's 5,000 there. Just to give you an idea, in 2014 we spent 3,100 on rebuilding the arena brines. We have in there like pump maintenance, we have fixing copper pipes, that kind of thing in there, just to kind of give that some context. And that adds up to 102,000. So going back to the original start, when you take all those numbers, it cost the city of Rossland 171,000 to run the arena. So how that's the arena in a nutshell. I don't know how we kind of want to move from here. Do you want me to simply present the information like this for all of the categories? Do you want to ask me any questions at any time?
If people have questions as we go through
Yep.
each section, that makes sense. Do we have any questions on the arena?
I was curious, we already have the energy audit or report that was done. That includes the arena, I would imagine?
Yeah.
That was the first thing I picked up when I looked at the numbers, is that putting the Fortis and gas costs out to the SC to work on if they could would be cool. Do you think they can lower that at all?
The audits that were done were just level 1 audits, which means they did more or less, they're not all that useful, they're sort of based on a template, but we, I think I told you we had talked to Carol Suhan from Fortis, who may have some money to do an actually, a more in-depth audit of some of the city facilities, and we recommended that it might be the arena.
Perfect.
Because yeah, you look at, I think it was $35,000 worth of electrical.
That's right, yeah.
Wait, are we talking the same audit? I thought there was a fairly in-depth report on, that covered the arena and...
There was one for the arena, one
and
for...
it looked at all the different kinds, it's the same one?
That's the
Okay,
one
yeah.
I'm talking about.
It had all kinds of recommendations,
Yeah.
new equipment...
Yeah. So some of the recommendations are good, but it was only a level 1 audit.
Yeah.
A more in-depth audit would be far more useful.
But could it be something that we use to say, to look at and say, well, that looks like a good opportunity, and then drill in on that, like if it's replace the compressor, if it's something in particular, is it enough to give some direction, or do you have to go and do a higher level audit on the whole thing?
You could use it for direction. I mean, if we can get money from CBT to do a more in-depth audit, though,
Yeah,
why
well,
not just do that?
yeah, but I'm thinking we could,
Or not CBT, Fortis.
the Fortis, yeah. Yeah.
Fortis
Anyway.
Gas also has a program on right now that we're applying for them to all do the same thing. An in-depth audit of the gas side.
Okay. Okay, anything else on the arena, before we let Lois on to the next?
That's it, and it's kind of any questions, you know, you want to ask Darren at the same time, just feel free to jump in. Okay?
I have a question regarding casual staff.
Yeah.
Those are wintertime staff only, Darren?
Yes.
So they're hired specifically?
So it's
for the
like
outdoor-
Raymond and Tom, so they're not full-time employees, they're just considered casual employees.
Oh, okay. And that's for both, this is for both the outdoor rink and, those guys are working just for?
Just for the inside of the arena, just for the
Oh,
the main
okay.
arena, yeah.
Yeah, this is just the arena portion.
Okay. No, that's right, you got it separate.
In the curling rink, they're also featured in there.
Right.
So again, what I've done on there is I've taken in terms of how many hours we expect them to work through the winter,
Right.
and kind of looked at the history in terms of how much they work there, and kind of made sure the total number of hours we expect them to work kind of, it adds up.
I had a question too about like the fees, like we're looking here, what the revenue was for the adult hockey. And when was the last time that we looked at what we charge to maybe update that? Might be a question for Robin.
That was when John Ray was here,
So
so
that's
I did approximately 6 years ago.
And they haven't been changed since?
No.
Yeah, because that's an opportunity perhaps for us to increase some revenue, right? And it would be nice to know what other arenas charge their hockey groups and these other users.
Yeah.
Should we make a recommendation from council to have staff look into that?
Do you call it a competitive analysis, I guess, of other arenas?
Yeah, comparative analysis and maybe a little study about where our fees are compared to where they could be something, so I think Andy's made the motion.
I'll make
made the
a motion.
recommendation.
Yeah,
And-
recommendations.
I'll second that.
Okay, second, anybody have any other discussion? Is that enough direction, Tracy? You know what we're after?
Say it again, because it's not really.
Okay, so we'd like to, well, Andy,
The
if you
staff
want-
be requested to,
Staff be requested to do a comparative analysis of other user fees at other arenas, you know,
Brookvale and Trail.
well,
And Castlegar.
yeah, wherever,
Yeah.
other local arenas.
other
And-
local arenas, okay.
Yeah.
You just say more generally, a review of the
Yeah.
rates.
Yeah, review of
That
the-
would encompass, you know, the comparative analysis.
Yeah.
With another key number in there is the usage percentage I'd like to see of the other rinks too.
Yeah.
You have to be careful with that for the, you're comparing apples to apples and when you do the.
I guess I was thinking hours open, hours used.
I can ask what they have.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, it'd be
well,
interesting
we
to-
have numbers, we have numbers of people participating and with numbers
Okay,
of people.
so the committee will recommend to council that staff be requested to do a comparative analysis of user fees. What did you say, under costs?
I guess the wording is capacity or percentage or usage percentage?
People.
Percentage, yeah.
Even for the number of people that use it, like a.
Whatever the name for it is, the number of hours, what
Okay.
percentage of that hours open are rented out.
Okay, at other local arenas.
Mhm.
They might not have those stats at hand, they'll certainly have
They might.
the recovery rate at hand.
That would get added to the recovery rate.
Yeah, well, they do have the recovery rate.
Yeah, so that would be a good number. That would give us a
Did you not do that recently?
similar purpose.
Some of that's included in the recreation report that I.
Yeah.
So just on the first sheet again, I've actually done a recovery rate for each area. So on the arena, we're at a 33% recovery. So just on the first sheet, it's just under the 171,000.
So we will just have a quick vote on our recommendation. Everybody in favor of that recommendation?
Oh, yes.
No? Okay, nobody opposed. Okay, thanks. Yeah, I thought the recovery rate there on all of those facilities was really interesting. The only
Mhm.
one, and I know we're not at Miners Hall yet, but I thought that seemed rather understated because it doesn't show any program revenue contributed to the Miners Hall, right? It's just showing rental. But I don't wanna throw you off. We're still in the arena.
Yep, not gonna go there just yet.
Okay.
So, so following on from the arena, similar sort of format for the curling rink. That is the 4 months rental for the curling rink that's going to feature in 2015. So that is. So that's 3 months of the January to March 2015, and then 1 month December of 2015. So that's as per the agreement that we have in place with them. And then the costs that are associated with running the curling rink is 180 hours of the public works, 80 hours of the casual staff that we were talking about. The electricity and gas are a percentage driven from the arena, so we get one bill for the arena, and I think it's 25% of the electricity that we recharge to the curling club, and I think it's 20% for the Fortis gas.
Did the curling rink contract, you're saying that it just goes 4 months into 2015?
Because it's a calendar year, their agreement is 4 months, which starts from in December.
December, January, February.
Yeah. So the 90,000 that's per the agreement. So it's the January to March rate, and then the December at the end of the year rate.
Oh, okay.
So that includes their little increase that they'll have at the next winter. So the costs of the curling club are 30,000. So taking away the 19,000, the curling club costs the city of Rossland 11,000. Does anybody have any questions on that before I move on?
It looks like the labor has gone up significantly. Is there anything there that's changed, or that salary changes, or number of hours changed? Looking along the top line of curling revenue. Oh, wait a minute, I'm looking at revenue, so never. Sorry, I thought I was looking at the cost sheet.
Yeah.
Cancel that question.
Again, even though 2014 has finished, the 2014 cost still will be moving slightly. So, with labour, we have a loaded rate, so it costs you X amount for that person in terms of an hourly rate, but we need to inflate that number because there's additional costs of benefits that we employ them. So we have a loaded rate. So the idea being at the end of the year is that whatever that person costs you, you've charged out. But that is very difficult to achieve. So I've been monitoring it throughout the year, but it's not quite there. So there will be some costs that I will need to charge out a little bit further. So on all of the 2014 numbers, I kind of say, like for example, Fortis and Gas, we haven't got all their bills yet, so the 2014 costs will still be changing, yeah. And especially on the recreation revenue as well, we need to do a reconciliation between their software and what's coming to Badham to make sure that jives.
Is there any way that those two softwares can meet and marry and be good?
I anticipated that question.
She's got a budget item.
No, I just knew that was gonna come up. So I spoke to Badham today and to ask them if they actually do have a recreation subledger, but they don't. But they said that the majority of municipalities did use a software called Class. Class have been taken over by somebody called Active Networks, and since they've taken over, the costs are going through the roof. So apparently most people are going to Book King, as in a book king. And I rang them up and just said, can you just give me a quick ballpark number in terms of what your fees are? And their fees to actually install the software is $3,600, and then an annual fee is $6,200, and our current software costs us about $1,700.
Wow. So we'll be sticking with that for a while.
And
you can figure out how to figure out.
Yeah, it's one of them in terms of it just needs so much time looking at it. That's all. That's the frustration thing is I know what the problem is. I just cannot find the report that gives me the middle ground to reconcile it. So, and it's one of those. It's time. Just needs a lot of time looking at it. That's all. I'm not saying it's not achievable. It's just where's it on the priority list to try and nail it down.
I mean, obviously, depending on how much time you spend doing that, it might make sense to pay more money for the other software, because your time is not free. Right?
Yeah, agreed, but in terms of just finding the middle ground, we should only have to do it once. Then we know exactly kind of to get from A to B, we should know how to do that, but it's just finding that middle ground.
Would that be something Badham could help you with, or who's the software that
It's Max Solutions.
Max Solutions.
Yeah. I don't necessarily like how it's been set up in the first place. From what I've read about it, in terms of when you set it up as a software, you can set it up as an accounting software, you can set it up as sort of an accounting software. And unfortunately, when it was set up as sort of an accounting software. So what's really frustrating is if you change an account code in the background, all the history changes with it.
Yeah.
So for example, when somebody comes in and pays and then we record it in Badham, if something changes at a later date relating to that transaction, it never flows through. So,
what a nightmare.
Yeah, that's it. So try and get really nailed down the number of programs and the revenue and stuff is really hard.
We feel your pain.
This one is not as bad as many as other things. So that's the curling club. So just sticking with ice, we've got the outside arena. So we've got 95 hours there of public works time and 2,000 for the city equipment, most of that being the back to truck.
That would be another one we could crowdsource. People want the outdoor rink, they could put into the fund, right? And then we bring the fund into the city and pay for it.
When the outdoor rink was first put out there, wasn't the budget $5,000 there?
Yeah, I think so, yeah, I think so.
So it's growing a bit.
Well, it was, wasn't
But-
it first put in when we were doing that competition, that?
Well, the pond hockey.
Pond
So
hockey,
there was some money that they sent back to us
Yeah.
to help with the, recover the cost, but, you know.
Yeah.
I have been monitoring it, and it is being really well used these days.
Yeah,
it's really good.
and great
Oh,
job.
it's incredible.
I'm wondering how much it's taking away from the arena usage.
That's what we, yeah.
And especially
Public
with recreation,
skating.
public skating, yeah, recreational skating,
Well, maybe we should charge for this.
well.
Then
what
you gotta
that-
put up
that's
a
what?
fence, then you gotta,
We can put up like a 2D box, like a tennis court. Whether
Yeah.
you'll pay or not, who knows?
Isn't there an arena, an outside one out of Red?
They used to have one.
Not this year. Could ask Red to put theirs back up.
What's that?
Could ask Red to put theirs back.
Theirs was so.
Yeah, it wasn't really
right?
great.
One
They're
thought, just
putting a
from,
hotel there anyway.
over Christmas, we were using the Kelowna outdoor skating rink, which is awesome, right downtown. It's so weird to skate and be by a lake with boats, but that's another story. But they sell parking space concessions, one for a skate rental truck, one for like a food truck. I wonder if we have enough traffic that we could ever interest anybody to pay a rate for a concession.
But then you have to pay somebody to be there.
yeah,
Well,
I
they
think
run it
that-
as their own business. It wouldn't
No,
be
you
a city
could
run
bring a
business.
private enterprise in, and
Yeah.
they would pay.
They
some
pay a rate,
fee.
private car there, yeah.
Right.
About the only one that would work is
Yeah,
a beer
taco
truck.
truck.
Bring that taco
Beer
truck out,
truck.
great.
Bring it out of
John's hot dog truck.
There you go, Jim.
Yeah, Sarah can do that.
But the skate rental's one they have there, like, that makes a
Yeah.
good amount of money. And I don't know if it's a real number, but a person I was talking to said they pay the city about $5,000 just for the opportunity to be there, so not much.
Yeah,
But it
what
adds
did
to
the
the
trucks
service.
pay at Golden City Days? Does anybody know? Because there were a bunch of trucks, I mean, they didn't pay the city, but, yeah, I don't know how this works. Interesting.
Yeah, so there might be some opportunity there. I mean, especially if it doesn't cost that much, we could recover a fair bit of it, maybe make a profit off it.
I don't think there'd be the use for.
Well, you'd probably come on
like.
like if you came during the events in the like winter carnival and those kind of things. When it's busy.
Okay.
Anyways, who knows?
Keep that,
Opportunity.
keep that idea in the hopper, and.
But we can't make a profit, can we? We're just gonna recover our costs. I'm pretty sure the community charter says that we can't actually make a profit, we can simply recover our
Recover it,
costs. Yeah.
or boost the cost and then recover an extra boosted cost.
Even just recovering the cost.
Yeah.
that's
Just
okay.
recovering it,
Yeah,
sorry.
exactly.
No, great, yeah.
Okay, so Public Works Administration, so there's 10% of the acting CEO, deputy CEO, I don't know whatever your title is.
Deputy.
So we have 2 recreation programmers, we have software licenses, we have, again, this is a bit of a historical thing that I've just continued, we have an internal administration charge, which is basically kind of recording a sale and recording the costs at the same time. So I can only guess historically it was like for finance staff time, or I'm not really quite too sure what it is, so I just kind of left there because that's historically what we've done. We can take that out, but it's just moving the problem from one area and moving it to another.
And that would be your decision, right?
Yeah, I think it's a good thing to have there because it's a reflection, it's a true reflection, but it's just one of those in terms of we need to kind of work on those numbers again and make sure they're actually fair and realistic, and it's on the to-do list, but unfortunately I think it's kind of down there. And then we have miscellaneous items. So the administration for recreation is 138,000. And I split that out because they kind of cover a number of areas, a number of things, so I just kind of thought I'd split that out. I'm kind of guessing nobody's got any questions there. No? Okay.
It's not a question, the only thing I say is I would have loved to have had those totals on the sheet.
Yeah, sorry, it was a bit of an afterthought.
Yeah. Okay.
They are all on here.
That's bad to say, but they are on the, I think she's meaning on the
Yeah, just when I was going through the presentation, because I was looking at, well, how was that up to, right? And so,
yeah, that sheet was designed for it. We have events and programs, so anything that's, I don't know, soccer club, I don't know what they are, can't think off the top of my head on the spot, I've gone blank, but we have instructors who come and run programs for us, and the revenue is 55,000. So generally, they're not all the same, but as a general rule, when somebody comes and runs a program, the instructor gets 80% of the revenue and we keep 20%. So hence the 44,000 is 80% of the 55,000 revenue. We have other kind of miscellaneous costs of 5,000. I think that's kind of materials and miscellaneous costs. So the cost of running those programs is 51,000. So we actually recover slightly more of our cost there by 3,500 on the revenue there. So things that are running the miners hall is included in there. Anything that's kind of...
They don't pay a fee for the miners hall, right? The
Sorry?
instructors don't pay a fee for that?
No.
Okay.
No. That would be private rental if they paid us a fee. So it's a kind of a program or they private rental.
Okay.
So anything that's even been run in the arena lounge will be included in here.
What kind of things fall under the advertising? I see a number of years don't have any, but what kind of advertising revenue is that in recreation?
In recreation, so
The kind of events and programming. Sorry.
I'm kinda guessing off the top of my in the administration you're talking about now.
No, in events and programming. It's got one line in there, 205 advertising. It's got a couple of zeros, but then there's a 160 and 212, and then a 505.
Would that be ads on the board?
Right along here. Oh, is that what that is? Out on the hockey boards and that kind of thing?
No, the hockey boards are included on the
In the
arena, yeah.
I'm just curious what that might be.
Advertising, so historically, I think what that is that, so they have the programs that, not the programs, the brochures that they produce.
Oh.
Historically, they should be in the administration, but I think one year it got confused and ended up in the events and programming. So there's no budget in 2015 there. The budget is in the administration expense, and they've done a lot of work to bring the costs down. I know that. I'm just trying to find.
So that's the cost, wait a minute, that's people advertising the brochure?
This is, I'm looking at a revenue.
No, that's the cost to
revenue.
produce the brochure, because they used to like mass print them all out, and then they would go to the post office and they would be in everybody's slot. Whereas now it's basically online.
Under revenue.
No, it's.
Yeah, so you could buy an ad in
No,
that
are you
program.
looking at arena?
Yes, you're right, I'm sorry.
No, so go over a
I
few.
see exactly. I was looking at the top line, which is the conclusion of the other one. I had my paper folded so I could read the same thing.
Yeah.
Sorry, you're right. Got it.
So the advertising budget is $600 in 2015. That one?
I guess I was looking at the revenue side of things, and it has there's really just one number in there, the 1 year, 160 on 2012.
And then
As
that's expenditures.
2000.
You're looking at
revenue
expenditures.
expended. Okay, sorry, you're right. And so so you say that was just one time year where it was put in a different line.
On the expenditure, yes,
As
it
normally that would
should have been included in the
admin.
administration, yeah. It was
Gotcha.
just 1 year, I don't know, somebody must have created a code there and it shouldn't have been there in my eyes.
Okay.
So, if I can move on, or if anybody else got any questions? So then we've got parks. So their revenue is 4,200. The majority of that revenue comes from minor soccer and slow pitch. And then the costs associated with that are listed there. So again, produced in exactly the same way in terms of the wages, the public works. The students are actually the summer students. So the cost comes to 103,000. So the cost to the city is 99,000.
So another question there
Yes.
is, when was the last time we looked at our fees and charges for use of those funds? Same thing with.
Guessing
Um,
the same, because it's in the same bylaw, so it would have to be
Yeah,
the same time.
yeah.
But on this one, you know, whereas I would support the time it takes to look at the recreation fees for ice, the amount of money we're getting, even if we double it, you know, it's a really, I don't know if it's worth actually trying to update those fees, you know
Well,
what I mean?
just put them up by 10% or something and get more, I don't know, it's like, that's a community group right there.
I could agree with deciding we're gonna put them up by 10%, but
Yeah.
to ask staff to look at the comparative fees charged in different, I mean, the amount of money
Well,
they're
we could
gonna
ask
spend.
staff to make a recommendation
Sure,
to us.
yeah, sure. Yeah.
Wanna make that recommendation?
I recommend that we ask staff to make a recommendation to us on, increasing fees for parks and field booking.
Okay, anybody wanna second that?
I'll second that.
So we have a second, any further discussion? No, all in favor? Any opposed, nobody, good, thank you.
How would you like us to approach that though? Because all we have to do though is all we have to do is recover our costs. So to recover our costs, you know, we could suggest we increase the fees to cover everything. So it's kind
$1,000 a pitch.
it's kind of, you know, we could come back with a recommendation, but it might not really be palatable. But I mean, whatever we come up with, we're still gonna.
No, come back to us with a reasonable recommendation. What would recreation department suggest that we should charge for our fields?
I suggest we talk to the school about helping out with the maintenance of Jubilee Field. You know, because it does take a beating, especially now that the younger kids are there. It's very hard on the surface, you know, because the history used to be that the school board used to look after that field. And then it deteriorated over time, and the city made the decision to approach them to take over the maintenance of it. And during that time, we received no cost back from the school. So I don't know if that's something that council would like us to approach. I probably already know the answer, but at least we can try.
Yeah, we could try it, yeah.
The owner
Sounded really
should-
familiar about that. Didn't we already make a recommendation for that, Tracy, last term?
We certainly did, and I got nothing back. I mean, maybe this is something we wanna talk to, our school trustee about.
Yeah.
The ownership has moved back and forth so many times now. You know, the school district used to have part of it, and then the north end was the cities, and then they took it. It all went to the school district, and then it all went to the city. It's been back and forth numerous times. But anyway, I'm just looking at the recovery of the parks. It's terrible.
Yeah, sure.
Well,
You know,
that's always.
these guys, they can play ball for a full season, and they go down there and spend more on a case of beer than what they do to play ball in our parks for a whole year.
Maybe we should sell beer at the field.
Okay, so we have a recommendation to look at increasing the cost
My
there, but
buddy.
I think, Darren brings up a good point about, you know, talking about some kind of agreement with them. Do we wanna just leave it that we'll talk to Gord Smith when he's here about that? Is that
Yeah, as far as
good
that
enough?
issue.
That's a good first step.
That's
But
good.
I wanna pursue the, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
Andy.
no.
I was just gonna recommend we consider renting some of the parkland out as pasture land for goats. And talk to Andrew about it, 'cause I mean, that would solve a couple of problems.
Save some maintenance costs on mowing.
Yeah, maintenance costs, mowing, yeah. I mean,
Actually,
mowing's mowing.
in Alberta, Fort Saskatchewan does that. They hired somebody with a herd of goats to come in, and the goats look after it all.
Fertilized, I mean.
Fertilized, yeah.
Fertilized, aerated, it's great.
And then you got petting zoo attractions.
Goat bite,
Ah.
I would like to suggest the city take over Redstone, and I'd love to golf for the same price that these guys are
playing ball for.
for.
Okay, Aaron, you had something?
Yeah, I mean, just following up on Lloyd's point, I'm not sure, I don't really have a good picture of who uses these parks, and therefore we might consider being responsible for paying, right? So, I mean, if I think about, some of the parks in town aren't used by any organized group. They're there for just kids to go play in, or hang out in, and surely we're not taking charge of that. And other parks, like Centennial, are used by soccer and baseball, but I don't have really a good picture in my head of who the main users are and what the main costs are. So hard to sort of get a grip on it when I'm trying to think about how, you know, whether it makes sense the amount of money we're spending and who we might try to get some of that money back from.
There's some of that in here, one of these sheets
I
in here.
Did not Lois say the main source of income from the parks were the slow pitch people and soccer people?
Slow pitch and soccer, right?
Yep, soccer is 2,100, and just a quick glance, it's 11, no, maybe a little bit more.
Okay, so that gives me an idea on the revenue side. On the cost side, the people that are using for slow pitch and soccer, that's just Cook Avenue and Centennial, and a little bit of Jubilee, right? Or not, Jubilee.
Jubilee gets used for soccer, not
Yeah.
ball.
Right. And are those also the major cost centers in terms of maintenance, or?
The 3 fields?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, 3 larger fields. I mean, but, you know, places like Pioneer Park, like the Rotary Park, they take quite a bit of maintenance as well.
Right.
So this sheet that's in this packet does give some user information. It's the one titled Field Spike Skills Park,
Yeah.
2013, Jubilee and Rossland. It's about midway through.
When we look at it, I think we've got to differentiate between the passive park and the
Oh, yeah.
user type park.
Yeah.
You know, where there is a
That's my point,
Yeah.
The
Well, and these-
passive parks are never expected to pay for themselves.
That's
Right,
right.
so recovery rate is misleading, almost.
Right.
That's public service we provide.
Right, but the working parts, right?
We do have a motion on there.
Oh, yeah, what's our motion?
The committee of the whole recommends
Staff.
council staff make a recommendation to council on increasing user fees for parks.
So in discussion on that motion, because I think I made the motion. Can't remember now. The question was, you know, is it useful to have staff make that recommendation? I think what I've got in mind is that rec staff probably has pretty good handle, or better handle than we do, on what is an acceptable price increase that doesn't actually chase away too much business. So where's the price point? And are we at it now, or could it be higher? That's all I'm
We can do some recommendations for it to be.
Yeah, I think that sounds good.
The stats too on usage.
Yeah.
That's what I would like.
I think we got it here, right?
Is it-
It's in this,
Yeah, midway through.
Yeah.
So that's the number of people, 98 hours. So what are they looking for over and above? How many days a week? I mean, I see our field sits empty a lot. So how many days a week is it being used? How many hours per day? I don't know, do we need, you know, 2 major ball fields? What kind of things I'm just.
There's some funny little things about the field that people don't realize. For instance, we can only get 1 play per evening on our field. So after work and quick dinner and out to the field, you're done, 6 to 8, that's it.
Mhm.
Otherwise it's too dark to play. So
Right.
1 field time. I can't stack and
2.
get 2 revenue centers because of our dark.
But there are 2 fields, right? So you get 1 field,
That's
1
right.
play on each field.
But on each field, I can only do 1 play per night.
Right. More on the weekends, though.
No one wants to play on weekends.
They have tournaments on weekends to do
Saw
that.
that,
Two tournaments.
saw that on your wish list. Do you have an idea whether there'd be demand for more than 1 per night, or, I mean,
There is.
so it's
Mhm.
at booked capacity when you've only got the 1?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So lights,
Yeah, like,
requests.
absolutely.
Darren, did I see your pen? No, I didn't. Okay, so, do we have any more, Andrew?
I just had a question about, I remember,
We do have a motion on the floor, a recommendation on the floor. Is it about this?
okay, do you wanna do, well, sort of is about it, yeah, it's related enough, I would say. I
Okay.
remember it was probably 5 years ago, I did this project with Deanne Stevens, their sports tourism project. Is that documented website that we created still actively being used and marketed? What it was a whole series of great pictures, descriptions, and all the details and statistics on every recreational amenity in the LCIC, Lower Columbia area.
Mm.
And Deanne paid me to put it together. I'm just curious if anybody still uses it. Because it was a fantastic online resource for promoting sports stores and booking our fields and facilities.
No.
Okay. They spend a lot of money for me to make it, I tell you that.
Go find it and let's
resurrect it.
resurrect
Yeah, it was
right?
fantastic.
If
And-
it's
Fantastic
property of
resource.
tourism Rossland.
Yeah, she would own it, I would imagine, yeah.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to bring it back, and if it's the whole lower Columbia area, maybe the LCCBT would wanna.
Yeah, it was
attach
Trail,
to
Fruitvale, not Castlegar, so Rossland, Trail,
Yeah,
Fruitvale.
so that's the LCCBT
Yeah.
area. You could take that down there and they could add it to their list.
Yeah.
Something, anyway.
Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I'm gonna call the question on this recommendation to have staff come back to us with a proposal of reasonable fees for the parks, for the working parks, right? Okay, all in favor? Opposed?
I think,
Yeah.
we should have spoken.
Oh, you can speak now,
Yeah,
William,
well,
okay. I'm not a dictator.
I think a review of the fees that are being charged, I think we should look at it and see what's reasonable. You know, I don't know that we should put the onus on the staff to come up with that.
Well, we're
because
just talking about for the parks on that one, they're gonna come
No,
back
I'm
to us.
just talking about parks.
Oh, you're just talking about parks.
You know, my information on parks, you have basically a 12-man team and you pay a flat rate around, I don't know, $150 a season or something like that,
180.
to play the whole season. How much?
180 per team per season.
Well, it's $10 a head.
200 bucks,
Pretty cheap. That's all season.
So that's the
Pretty
whole
good.
season.
That's what, how many games?
You know,
Yeah.
so,
10 games,
do we need
12
a
games?
recommendation on that, or those are things are out of line? You know,
Well-
I know looking after parks, and Darren could probably bear this out, even a sprinkler system in a park, about 10% of cost of the sprinkling system, you have to put into maintenance every year. You know, by startup, blowing out, shutting down, replacing heads, and that kind of thing. You know, you got big expenditures in parks, and you gotta groom them, you gotta cut the grass, and we're not getting any revenue, not anything near what we should be getting.
So does our recommendation also include a comparison? Because I'd like to see, you know, I mean, if we're gonna go head to head with Warfield Trail, because I understand that there's a fair number of residents come and play ball in our fields as well. So I just wanna make sure that we're competitive, and whatever their rates are.
I mean, increasing user fees for working parks, obviously, we're gonna have to do some investigating into what other people are charging and.
Okay, so it's covered.
You still have to be competitive within the area.
Yep.
Right, we have to be competitive, but I think, you know, Robin's sitting here, staff, all the other staff are here, I mean, I think everyone understands that we want something that is competitive, but also is helpful to us, we're all on the same boat here, right? So I don't think we need more.
Okay.
But
Okay, the motion passes.
it is, but you could always make it.
Well, I thought Lloyd was offering to do the study.
Thanks, Lo.
I certainly looked at some of those rates and have a
No, I'm gonna work on
recommendation.
sewers. Okay, so,
I just wanted to go back actually to the curling rink because I forgot to mention something. It's just a passing note. The curling ring did actually put a community support application in, and it's actually related to painting the locker area and replacing some carpet downstairs to the amount of $7,500. But I'm going to include that in the next budget meeting because that falls under Public Works. Just as a side note that I forgot to mention. So the pool. So pretty self-explanatory again in terms of our revenue, and that's how our costs are broken down. So it's pretty much runs. I've kind of corrected afterwards. I put this in. I put pool students, but apparently they're not all students, so it's kind of pool staff, sorry. So there's the public works, the pool staff, and then all the associated costs that go with it. Just a note on the materials and supplies. That figure includes the gas and electricity. So that I've only just identified that as an issue, so that will be broken out into more detail. So we'll take that out there to get a true reflection of what the actual materials and supplies are. So the pool as a cost for this city is $47,000. Anybody got
and
any?
it has am I reading this right, it had a 42% cost recovery.
Yep, 41%.
Yeah, 41.
Yeah, the 2014 budget was 42%. As you'll see, we didn't achieve that in 2014, so I've budgeted at 41%.
So I guess there's the same consideration there. When was the last time we looked at our fees there, right? Kind of the same situation.
The other question, and Robin's here, do we extend the season on the pool?
We have never, no.
How late do you keep it open now?
We close approximately the 25th, 6th, 7th of August every year.
A lot of that is to do with staffing, because kids go back to school.
But it opens well before the end of the school year, doesn't it?
It opens for the whole month of June, because we have our, lesson sets that serve the pool.
Question about that, with our reciprocal agreement with, SC20, where they can use our facilities, we can use their facilities, do they pay to use the pool when the school kids come? They do, okay, good. And do they pay to use the arena when they go there too?
They don't.
They don't pay or they don't go?
They don't pay to go, to use the arena, and the reason for that, the difference between the arena and the pool, is because, historically, the pool was a nonprofit, and so the SC20 was exempt from not paying because it was a nonprofit. When it became the property of the city, we just didn't talk about it.
Good plan.
Sarah, keep that in mind. Okay, yeah, that was interesting. Andy, you wanted to say something about it?
No.
No. Is anyone interested in looking at the cost of the pool user costs?
It's, correct me if I'm wrong, Robin, but I think we are competitive with Warfield.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And that would be our only direct
competitor.
yeah.
It'd be interesting to know if we strike an agreement with Trail for pool usage, what that may do, and how that may impact our own usage.
Yeah.
In the summer?
Trail
Not a lot,
is
people
closed
would
in
rather
August.
swim outside.
The trail
Trail is closed in August.
for maintenance.
Yeah.
So there you go, for 1 month anyway.
Just out of curiosity, Robin, how come we got such a spike in revenues in 2013?
For
So,
the pool?
For the pool, yeah, so it's 41,600 or something, but the years preceding and following that, it's 33.
I know we had a very bad weather year, and I think that was 2 years ago.
Okay.
I remember wanting to saw my arms off in the month of June.
Right.
There was one sunny day.
Okay.
That's all I can remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, okay, that's probably right.
I know that last year when I was looking at the software, that the revenue for the pool was being coded to the incorrect account code. So whether the previous years had the same issues and not been picked up, I don't know.
So the revenue could have been higher for the pool.
Yeah, it had to have been recorded somewhere though.
Yeah.
So.
But you feel it's recorded accurately for 2014? Because really the only one that's out of line is 2013. And
I haven't done enough reconciliation to kind of say yes on that yet.
What was that?
Is it 2013 that's the issue?
2013 was a higher number than the other years.
Oh, okay.
That was kind of a bump.
Yeah, not sure.
But-
We'd like it to be that way for all.
Yeah, I'm just curious.
Well, if you look down that 2012 grant, there's, per year, a lot of the things are a lot less. Student labor went from $52 to $56,000. Materials and supplies went from $11,000 to $22,000. Operating grant went from $26,000 to nothing.
Well, the operating
That's
grant
the
is
thing.
because it became property of the city.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we're getting.
Oh, so that would be a reason for that, then. Became city facility.
Right, so let's go outside to go, yeah, right, perfect.
The LDLG is going.
So the Minotaur, so our revenue here is ILO's rental, the Pottery Society, and then basically private rentals on top of that. So I've not included recreation programming because I've included that separately.
Yeah. I mean, the only reason it would be there would just be to show that the miners hall that is serving a purpose for us in terms of, for a cost recovery, because we have that facility, we can run those programs in that building. So, not that I'm asking you to change it,
Yep.
I'm not, but just for council's point of view, right?
Yeah,
It's
so,
important to know
so
that it performs better than it looks.
in the summary that Recreation have done, so again, there is minus all in here, so you should be able to see what the Recreation, programming revenue is. So that's the revenue. So on this, it says 14,000, and then assume 80% of that. It's on this, one of these. It's second page from the end for the minus hall for 2014.
Okay, hold on, okay, there's... Okay, that's the 14,000.
The 14,000, yeah. So according to this, the recreation programming is 14,000. So if you assume that the instructors cost us 80%, we would only have 20% of that. Yeah.
And the difference between 2013 and 2014 for the minor hall is I think, really, really interesting and quite telling. And it references it in those notes. The difference is $10,000 in revenue in the 2 years, and that's a direct result of losing the annex. Because we used to have programming in the annex and also in McLean Elementary. And in that year lost that option, all of those programs had to move over to minors hall. So if you even just look on the left-hand column for 2013, second column for recreation, there's 5 programs. In 2014, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, there's 11 or 12 programs for a $10,000 increase. So that's one of the reasons minors hall is so busy right now, because that's all we have.
And none of those programs that were at the annex could move into the arena lounge or?
No, not in some, but not so much. The annex requires more gymnasium type space, and the minors hall is doing its best. It's not a gymnasium, but it's doing its best.
What do you think of the possibility of the attic at the minors hall? Would you be able to put some of your programs up there?
We would see the attic as potentially being good space for some similar type programs that we're holding in the lounge. Adult-oriented programs, maybe adult language classes, maybe adult art, workshop type courses, perhaps children's courses. Just, I need to see the space.
Thanks.
So I think the only real kind of increase on the minus hall cost to note is just the change in the janitor's contract. We're just expecting that to cost us more money than previously.
We went from paying $19 an hour to paying $30 an hour.
What?
Because our previous contractor quit, and when we went out to tender, we received 1 bid.
Really?
I'm curious, who was the bid from?
It's a new company called Golden City Cleaners.
Okay, how long is the current, is that a 1-year thing?
It's
or?
a 1-year contract.
Okay. I was thinking I might pass it on to a guy I know through Cast who's from Beasley. I'm surprised he wasn't on it. What a bid in. He may not have known about it.
And not related to the people that do the city hall now? So
No.
that's a separate.
Contract.
That's too bad.
Yeah.
It's a 1-year agreement though, so.
It's a 1-year agreement with an option to renew.
And is that contract based X number of hours a week, or only on demand, or how's that work?
They have a list of what they have to do daily, weekly, monthly, and it's based on that, so it's an hourly charge. And we know historically, like how many hours.
How many times?
Yeah, and how many hours, it should, so we can see.
Yeah, keep track.
If they're slow or if they're fast.
Good budging it.
Yeah.
And do the hours fluctuate, like do they have to come in after events?
Well, it depends
or-
how many events and,
Yeah, so it has to be, it's not like they can be there from Tuesday, they've gotta be flexible.
And remind me again, because I think this is the case, but the janitorial costs built into the rentals, so there's a fee over and above rental costs to support the janitorial part of the rental?
There's an interesting correlation though also with losing the annex and McLean Elementary, which was school district building. when our programs run those buildings, their custodians clean their buildings.
And we didn't have to pay the price.
Only in the annex. We had a user fee agreement with the annex, but not McLean Elementary or RSS. So now that all of our programs are in the Minersville, there's more usage, there's more requirement for custodial expense, but we're paying.
Well, maybe this is something we can consider in town, trying to recoup some of our janitorial costs, because I know, being involved with our CAC, you know, one of the things we found, having that huge investment in chairs, is that we needed to make sure that we were paying for the annual cleaning of those chairs, and we started charging them on a per rental basis. And now that's covered.
Yeah.
It's a fair bit of money, so that's, yeah, so $12,000.
Have we approached the French school about using
I did, yes.
and they don't have availability for it?
Unfortunately, the contract they have with their custodian would require a 2-hour minimum at $50 per. So there's 100 right there.
Yeah.
Before the cost of using the gym.
Yeah, and we couldn't have an agreement with them that we provide our own janitorial for our programs either. Bummer.
And we don't have any kind of reciprocal arrangement with them as far as similar to what we do with SD20?
Wonder if they'd
But
be
that's an
interested.
option, though.
It's an option.
That's something we should pursue, really.
Yeah,
Make a
that's
recommendation.
that's a great
for
facility.
Okay.
And we definitely could be,
Make a recommendation.
I'd like to make a recommendation that staff explores the option of a reciprocal agreement with the French, school board.
I'll second that.
Voice section. Any further discussion? No, all in favor? Good. No one opposed. Great, thanks. All right, Lois, you're doing it.
That covers all the facilities. What I was just going to cover was the reciprocal agreement in Jubilee Park, but I think we've kind of already kind of covered those. I just wanted to make council aware of the history there, that we own Jubilee Park as part of the reciprocal agreement, and obviously with the loss of the annex, that's kind of a little bit more one-sided than what it used to be. And that just the issues with SD20 in terms of booking their facilities and because they get priority. So I'm not going to go over that one. That's kind of everything that I've got.
I noticed there was, in the record, the supporting documents for Rossland Rec, there was a request from, I think, 2006 from this council to SD20 to get first right of refusal on any sale of the annex. Did we ever get any response from them on that?
Sorry, if you repeat that.
We asked SD20 for first right of refusal on the sale of the annex. This is almost 10 years ago now. I assume they
Yes,
did.
we do have that agreement.
We've got
in place.
that. Okay. I know that eventually we're gonna be talking about a strategy for, I forget what we called it, property? Holdings.
Land use.
And for me, the most interesting part of that conversation is gonna be, whether and how we acquire the annex. Just to put that in the context.
Just on the side, I had a conversation with the CAO of Golden, and they were in the same position as us, as they lost a school, and they had a separate building like our annex that also went with that, and they did purchase that building, and their cost recovery on that is 50%, and it is the most used facility that they have in Golden. So, but then again, there's older buildings, right?
It's another building.
Older buildings.
50% cost recovery.
Yeah.
The other 50,
Right.
we're loading on, so. Anything else that you?
I have nothing else, no.
Okay, the only other thing we had in there was the wish list that,
Oh, sorry,
came
yeah.
forward, if we wanna discuss any of those things. I had a few questions on those, So my first one was on recommendation out about the arena lawn, which you guys, it's a 337 in our packets, so look at that. They were suggesting some kitchen improvements, get the liquor license, you know, and I'm just curious what the estimated cost would be and what we could look at for an increase in revenue if there was some kind of projections, what would be what's the cost benefit of doing, and I basically have the same question for a number of these things. That's the information I'd be interested in finding out, right? I like the idea of a composting toilet at Jubilee Park.
Maybe Darren could speak to that. We had a block building that was a toilet there, or washroom facilities, and they had to shut it down because of vandalism. And I was asking Darren, you know, at Cook Avenue Park, they got washroom facilities and they're having trouble there. But, you know, I just wonder if we reinstitute one at Jubilee Park, and if there was a way to handle it, you know, maybe just give the user groups the key to the thing and have them accept the responsibility to open and close it when they're using the park, whether it's a soccer team or a ball team or whatever, and keep it locked at the other, the rest of the time.
Is that, that's a building that's there right now, Lloyd, the washroom?
The block building is still there.
Is that the, like, that's not the Scouts building, is it?
It's right next to the Scout.
Okay.
Where the Scout Hall used
So
to
that
be.
is a washroom, or was a washroom?
Yeah, one time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely in need of major repairs if we were to use it. I don't see the reason for a composting toilet, because we do have water and sewer, you know, all around the area, you know, choice of where we go. There, you know, it's quite a ways back in the back corner, so the usage, some people probably wouldn't choose to walk that far to use it.
Right.
So, but as Lloyd was saying, vandalism in bathrooms is very high.
Is it a big problem at Cook, at that
And
ball field?
and the Nickel Plate Park,
Yeah.
same kind of thing, you know, you get a toilet thing, or a toilet paper roll flushed and plugged down there.
Yeah.
I mean, Trail has done some good work on theirs. Theirs automatically lock at a certain time and unlock at a certain time and have photo sensors inside.
Cameras?
Yeah, they do actually. Not inside. They do for vandalism around the outside though. It's, they're very expensive to run. I mean, I'm sure most of this council knows, we have washrooms out at the sewer lift station that we should be considering opening up. I'd be very concerned with vandalism, especially out, you know, that far away from many, you know, in town, but they're there, right?
Where's the
At the sewer lift station, you know, Red Mountain.
Where you turn off the highway.
Trail there,
That building that's got actually public washrooms in it?
Yep.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
washrooms, it's not public, they're just washrooms.
They're locked, no, they're meant for the public.
Wow.
Yes, they're meant for the, so when they first got built, we're gonna try to have a service agreement with Red Mountain to, you know, look at the janitorial of them, and then of course they got janitors that can lock up, and they've never been open.
Wow.
Yeah, they're nice.
But
Yeah, it's so discouraging, right? Because even if we decided we wanted to do this, the public wanted us to do it, it's a great idea, you do it, and then it gets trashed.
One kid comes along and trashes it.
Yeah.
That's what it takes, right? But those bathrooms are listed on the mapping system that Tourism Rossland did, saying that they're available. But they're not.
quick question, what about another option, looking at a seasonal portable toilet? So that you're, putting something up or in that, you know, I'm thinking porta potties, but it's something a little more elaborate than that, but similar, that the guys are under contract, so you don't have to worry about, running water, you don't have to worry about, a sewage hookup. And it's just a matter of making, like BB Tools, for example, because I know, you know, through this P Club, we've rented them a number of times for events. And then they pump them once every 2 weeks, or just looking at, you know, normal capacity.
So you're thinking like during the baseball season or something,
Yeah,
have one
because-
of those, or not the baseball, but whatever, the
Well,
soccer.
soccer, baseball, depending, because I think, where was the complaints coming from, were for people's cars and,
Jubilee Park.
Jubilee.
yeah.
That's soccer.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
soccer.
Centennial, we've got the Lions Campground washrooms, so, you know, anybody chooses to go that far to use them, which,
Right.
I don't really know.
Do they get vandalized too?
They have a person that goes around every night, right? And there's somebody at the campground that manages it, so, no, they haven't had the problems like we have.
Yeah.
And the park, the ballpark.
Cook Avenue Ballpark has washrooms as well, behind the one down.
That's an interesting question, though. How much would it cost to put a couple of porta potties for a couple of months in Jubilee? As, you know, compared to the cost of building and maintaining, permanent washrooms. And, you know, the other advantage of porta potties is if we figure out it's not working, we have a better idea.
That's right.
Take them away and
We're gonna
put in place a better idea.
If they would make a recommendation.
Yeah.
I mean, we can just look into that, I don't think
Yeah.
a recommendation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Explore it.
Darren will look into the porta potty.
Porta
potty.
Porta potty's a good idea too.
Get late, isn't it?
Okay, just the last couple of things, the thing about the lights, the lights and fun stuff in the arena, again, what would the cost of that be and what would we estimate that might, would that?
Well, we know our cost recovery in the parks now, imagine what lights would cost to put up and.
Oh, I'm not in the parks, I'm in the arena.
Not there yet.
Yeah, not there yet.
Talking about the
Oh,
arena
I'm
now.
sorry,
Yeah,
okay.
the arena one, you know, one of the comments there was that it would make it more appealing for youth, you know, to come and give them a little more interest, might bring our usage up.
Strobe lights.
Well, did Jim get an estimate? It says here you've asked Jim to.
Yeah, he was looking into it, one of the.
So that's coming.
Buddies or something, yeah.
Okay, so it could just come back, I mean, I'm just curious, like when we get some nice, you know, creative ideas here, I'd like to see what is possible, and we only know that if we see a cost and can get something that would say, yeah, well, you know, we get, Jan would start coming and skating every, you know, all those kids would come and skate once a week or something, I don't know. Okay, so then, you know, I had the same question about is there enough demand for more playing time, and what the revenue would be to justify lights in the other park? So that's a question for that one. So, and then minor solid storage issues, like with the rehabilitation of the building, it's supposed to be more storage, you know, for that, and I was wondering if that would address the concerns brought by recreation. You mentioned shelves, I'm curious where you would want to put those, that cost would be. Do you have an idea of that?
Those have to be accessible to the floor itself, so that's like yoga equipment or.
Right. So where would that go?
Strength. So right now, we have them all in the fire escapes to nowhere.
Right.
You know, left and right of the stage, not down to the exits, but up to the nowhere.
Right.
And so it's all littered up in the hallway.
And if that nowhere, the nowhere stairs open up.
Yeah,
then
they're
that's-
gonna be using
that
those storage, right?
Yeah, we'll lose that storage,
Yeah.
right. So that'll be another.
Fire marshal won't want that.
No, that'll be another challenge. Okay, well, that'll be a challenge, I guess.
We've gotta find a space under the stage is full.
Yeah. So.
Rotary building, storage.
Rotary building. And then the last one was, a new fridge for the pool. Again, cost on that. And the other thing is, I mean, it's a little different, but when we brought the refugee family in, we just put out there asking for things, and we got a wonderful, completely serviceable refrigerator for the family, and we could do that too. We could say, hey, you know, you guys like the pool?
Put it on bubble.
Yeah, put it
Yeah.
on, just put it out there. I mean,
Yeah.
some of these things.
I mean, last time we bought a fridge, we gave away a beautiful,
Yeah, there you go.
huge fridge.
Why didn't you give us the pool?
Well, and buy a new one again.
Yeah. Okay,
On
so.
what I'm making on my city paycheck.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we're done unless anybody has any other questions. Thank you very much, Lois. This was great. Robin for staying.
Mhm.
Darren and Tracy, meeting is adjourned.
Well done.
Is that format okay in terms of like when we come to do the next meeting, Public Works, do you want to carry on?
Yeah, I
that way?
had a little trouble fiddling my way between the different spreadsheets, but I'll get used to it.
Yeah, recreation.
It's good to have the information.
Recreation's just hard work in terms of just getting a number together.
Yeah. There won't be as many spreadsheets.
No.
I just wanna make sure that when we do, if you are approached by the community groups, you make sure that they realize this is recommendations to council, and that it is not concrete yet.
So they shouldn't firebomb us yet, that's what you mean?
Well, it could still be
No,
done.
they'll all show up.
No, it'll show up, yeah.
They're all gonna show.
No,